Hey everybody, tonight we're debating Christianity versus secular humanism, which has the better foundation for ethics, and we're starting right now with Craig's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Craig. The floor is all yours.
Hey, James, thanks for having me once again. Amazing time at DebateCon, so thank you very much for that. I had prepared slides and stuff, but I'm in the middle of moving home and I'm a dumbass and managed to pack my hard drive, so I'm just going to kind of wing it and waffle for my intro, really. I'm Craig McNeil. You can find me on the YouTube channel FTFE, where I normally talk to flat earthers. But yeah, so I'm doing this today instead. Right, from the moment that humans learned to walk upright and stopped flinging their own feces at each other, some still haven't, flat earthers, we've been shackled by myth. And of all the myths that have haunted us, the big G in the sky, Old Testament Tyrant Edition, has got to be one of the most creatively evil ones. Let's be real. If God were a human leader, he'd make Genghis Khan look like a UNICEF ambassador. This is a guy who, according to his own fan fiction, the Bible, flooded the planet because he was in a bad mood, turned a woman into a salt shaker for looking at an explosion, and sent bears to maul 42 kids for laughing at a bald man. You know, a literal god-tier supervillain. Yet for thousands of years, humanity has been expected to kneel before this celestial dictator, handing over 10% of their income while being told they're worthless worms. I mean, talk about a cosmic scam. It's like a bad multi-level marketing scheme, but with eternal damnation instead of Tupperware. For the majority of human history, societies run by religion were brutal, oppressive, and deeply allergic to progress. The Dark Ages, sponsored by Christianity. The witch trials, brought to you by religious hysteria. Slavery, fully endorsed in the Bible. God's apparently a fan of forced labor. Shocker. And let's not forget the Inquisition, where God's most loyal bootlickers decided the best way to spread love was with hot pokers and the good old-fashioned execution. It wasn't until secular humanism started creeping in that things actually began to improve. You know, little things like science, human rights, not setting people on fire for saying the Earth orbits the sun. Because when humans stopped looking to Sky Daddy for all the answers and started using logic, reason, and actual evidence, suddenly we got medicine, democracy, and the concept of human dignity. You know, who knew, right? The biggest flex that secularism has over Christianity is that it works. Instead of basing morality on a 2,000-year-old book that says mixing fabrics is a sin, but selling your daughter's fine, secular ethics use reason, empathy, and evidence to determine right from wrong. You know, things that actually matter, like consent, well-being, and fairness. Not whether or not you eat shellfish, which, fun fact, is on God's do not eat list, but somehow genocide isn't. Under secular governance, we saw the end of slavery, the rise of democracy, the birth of human rights, women finally being seen as people, and the scientific revolution that gave us medicine, electricity, and, crucially, memes, none of which came from prayer. Because here's a fun fact. Every major advancement in human rights has been opposed by religious institutions. Civil rights, fought against by religious conservatives. Women's rights, same story. Gay rights, the church still hasn't caught up, and it's 2025. Meanwhile, the only thing Christianity has given the world in the last 500 years is televangelists and scandals. Secular governments, they like ending slavery, promoting human rights, advancing science, and generally improving human well-being. But God, well, he invented hell, the concept of eternal torture for people who don't kiss his divine feet enough. That's not justice, that's narcissistic cosmic dictator with anger issues. If a human leader acted like God, they'd be hauled to the Hague for war crimes. But when God does it, oh, he works in mysterious ways. Mate, that's just a fancy way of saying we've no idea why our deity acts like a genocidal maniac asshole. The bottom line is this. Secular humanism is about progress, freedom, treating people decently because it's the right thing to do, not because you're scared of a sky bully with a lightning fetish. It's the reason that we have democracy, vaccines, space travel, and a legal system that doesn't rely on stoning people to death working on a Sunday. Meanwhile, religion clings to the past, desperately trying to keep the world trapped in an era where bleeding people out was considered medical treatment. So when people ask whether Christianity or secular humanism is better for society, the answer is painfully obvious. One is responsible for everything good in the modern world, and the other is responsible for burning heretics, banning condoms, and guilt-tripping people into submission. If we want a future where people thrive, explore the stars, and actually fix the problems that we face, we need reason, evidence, and compassion, not old books, celestial dictators, and vague threats of hellfire. Humanity evolves, religion doesn't. And that's why secular humanism isn't just better than Christianity, it's the only reason we're not still living in the Dark Ages. Christianity's morality is based on obey or burn, which, let's be honest, is just divine North Korea. It's rule by fear, not ethics. Meanwhile, secular humanism says, don't be a dick because people matter. No hellfire required. Think about it. Would you rather base your morals on reason, empathy, and evidence, or on a book that thinks shellfish is worse than slavery? One gives us human rights, democracy, and Star Trek. The other gives us the Crusades, televangelists, and people who think the earth is 6,000 years old. It's not even a contest. Secular ethics, because don't be a knob, is better than obey or burn. And that's all I've got.
Thank you very much for that opening, Craig. We are going to kick it over to Luigi for his opening as well. But before I do, quick housekeeping notes first. Folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James Coons, and Modern Day Debate is a fully neutral channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as we have plenty debates coming up. With that, we're going to kick it over to Luigi for his opening statement as well. Thanks for being with us. The floor is all yours.
The topic of today's debate is one that philosophers have argued over for millennia: ethical foundations. I will be asserting 4 arguments: 2 positive claims for the case of Christianity, and 2 negative contests against secular humanism. My first claim is that secular humanism cannot justify ethical foundations at all. This argument is best summarized by C.S. Lewis in his book, Miracles. Quote, "If the solar system was brought about by an accidental collision, then the appearance of organic life on this planet was also an accident, and the whole evolution of man was an accident too. If so, then all our thought processes are mere accidents, the accidental byproduct of the movement of atoms. But if our thoughts are merely accidental byproducts, why should we believe them to be true? I see no reason for believing that one accident should be able to give a correct account of all the other accidents." End quote. This argument can easily be extended to the conscience and thus ethics. If we are the result of an accidental process, why should we trust our own moral compass, let alone someone else's? My opponent frequently points to the opposition of harm as a guiding factor under the secular humanist framework. Yet, what is the justification for why harm is bad? It seems harm in many cases is actually good, as a child receiving a life-saving vaccine certainly perceives the needle poking into their skin to be harmful. So is harm acceptable if it results in a greater good? What if we are in the midst of a deadly pandemic, and the only way to save the masses is to perform dangerous medical experiments on a few victims unaware of the risks? Is this acceptable because there is less harm when it's all said and done? My opponent was left speechless on this point when asked by an audience member how we resolve these conflicting standards. Do we concur with Immanuel Kant, who says reason commands us to follow ethics that follow principles? Or do we rather side with John Stuart Mill, who says it's based on outcomes? As you can see, when the foundations of secular humanism get called into question, it becomes blatantly clear that it is built on the woeful ambiguity of human feelings, specifically the human feelings of whoever is in charge of a particular nation. Would you trust the fate of a moral dilemma to the personal feelings of a bunch of random secular humanist leaders? I certainly wouldn't. Which leads me to my second claim, that Christianity can justify its ethical foundation and ground its standards. Unlike a secular paradigm, in Christianity, we are not the result of an accidental process, but rather we're designed for the unique purpose of stewardship over this world. Man was created in God's image, and this is why we are granted a conscience, unlike any other creature in the animal kingdom. Jeremiah 31 and Romans 2 in the Holy Scriptures demonstrate through divine revelation that God has placed his laws on our hearts, which is therefore how we know we can trust our conscience. In addition, when moral dilemmas are presented, the Orthodox Church has a normative method to resolving them that has been granted infallibility by the protection of the Holy Spirit. You may ask, how can things possibly get worse for a secular humanist if they can't even justify ethical foundations? This leads me to my third claim, that secular humanism does not have the capacity to sustain a society at all. When asked in his debate with Andrew Wilson, my opponent made reference to Scandinavian nations as a good example of secular humanism. So I'll be using Sweden as a case study. A sustainable birth rate must maintain at a bare minimum 2 children per woman, 1 to replace each parent. According to Statistics Sweden, the nation in 2019 had a birth rate of 1.70. This is well below the sustainable rate. However, to make matters worse, as of 2024, it has plummeted down to 1.43 children per woman. How is Sweden compensating for these devastating numbers that will inevitably lead to the death of their nation? They are bringing in substantial numbers of migrants. 30 years ago, less than 1% of Sweden was made up of Muslims. Today, that number is roughly 10%. So my opponent's poster child of a secular humanist society is not only unsustainable in their birth rates, but they're now outsourcing to religious populations who will inevitably replace them. Eric Kaufman, who is a scholar of demographics and is himself a secularist, has this to say. One reason for the secular religious fertility gap is that religion's proto-natalist message contrasts with the culture of low fertility now prevalent in the secular individualistic West and secular materialistic East Asia. Once material circumstances free people to choose their fertility levels, values come to matter more in determining individual fertility. One of the most central injunctions of virtually all traditional religions is to strengthen the family, to encourage people to have children, to encourage women to stay home and raise children, and to forbid abortion, divorce, or anything that interferes with high rates of reproduction. End quote. My fourth claim is this, that Christianity has the birth rate capacity to sustain a society. Now, what I am not saying is that more babies you have, the better your societal model is. I am also not saying that sustainable birth rates make Christianity right. What I am saying is at least we would have a society if everyone became Christian. Based on the above data, my opponent cannot say the same. Kaufman goes on in the same book to say, quote, secularism, even in small amounts, is associated with population stagnation or even decline absent substantial immigration, whereas highly religious countries have higher fertility rates that promote population growth, end quote. He even states, quote, if pious children simply assimilate into the secular mainstream, the radical effect of religious fertility quickly dissipates, end quote. Even an ounce of secularism decimates a society's chance at sustainable birth rates. Yet in Christianity, Adam and Eve were commanded prior to the fall of man to be fruitful and multiply. This means that God created us not only as stewards, but also as sustainers of earth through generation after generation. This explains why scholars like Kaufman have found that Christianity does indeed produce sustainability for future societies. One excellent case study of this is found in the Republic of Georgia in 2007. For decades, world leaders had thrown billions at collapsing birth rates, tax breaks, subsidies, paid leave, only to see birth rates continue falling. But in 2007, one simple initiative from a leader of the Orthodox Christian Church completely shifted the nation's trajectory. Patriarch Ilya II of Georgia stated that he would personally baptize every third child born to any family. This resulted in a shocking 42% spike in birth rate, substantially outpacing any government program. Marriage rates rose, abortions fell, and the Republic of Georgia sustained above replacement birth rates for nearly a decade. As is the case in many modern societies, Christianity saved the Republic of Georgia from the fate that Sweden is destined for. Now that I have demonstrated that secular humanism can not only justify ethical foundations, nor sustain a society with its crumbling birth rates, I want to build on the positive case for Christianity beyond simply satisfying these basic two requirements. Not only can Christianity justify its ethical foundations and offer sustainable birth rates, but Christianity is simply better for almost every society that it touches. I want to point out this portion of my opening statement is supplemental to my previous four claims, and that even if it is false that Christianity is beneficial to society, my previous four claims would still sufficiently uphold Christianity as a superior ethical foundation over secular humanism. An excellent summary of the undeniable positive impact that Christianity has had on humanity comes from Phil Zuckerman, who is himself a secular humanist. He states, quote, religiously involved individuals also exhibit greater manifestations of prosociality than those who are not religiously involved. Several studies have found that religious people tend to be more charitable, more generous, and more likely to volunteer and donate blood than their secular peers are. Furthermore, a proliferation of religious devotion, faith in God, reliance on the Bible has historically been a determining factor in establishing schools for children, creating universities, building hospitals for the sick, and homes for the homeless, taking care of orphans and the elderly, resisting oppression, establishing law and order, and developing democracy, end quote. Again, this is a secular humanist scholar who is admitting this. Now, there are, of course, many exceptions to these general rules. There are bad Christians who do bad things. But this does not disprove Christian ethics any more than a bad doctor practicing medicine improperly disproves medical practice as a whole. Christianity, very similarly, is a medicine for a sick society, and Christ is our doctor. I will end with this quote from St. Ignatius of Antioch, who was eventually brutally martyred for the sake of his faith. Quote, "There is one physician who is possessed both of flesh and spirit, both made and not made, God existing in flesh, true life in death, both of Mary and of God, first passible, then impassible. That is Jesus Christ, our Lord." Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening. We are going to kick it into. Want to say a couple quick housekeeping things before we do kick it into the next section. First, folks, if you happen to have questions, please fire them into the old live chat. If you tag me with @moderndaydebate, that's one way to submit your question for the Q&A. Another way is via the super chat, as we push those questions to the top of the list for the Q&A. Also, we are very excited about a number of different things. But first, let me give you the format. We have 10-minute cross exams. So this is first where Craig will be cross-examining Luigi for 10 minutes straight, and then Luigi will get the chance to cross-examine Craig. So first, Craig, the floor is all yours for 10 minutes to interrogate our new guest, Luigi.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Luigi. It's nice someone to actually come with a presentation and stuff. I apologize that I didn't this time because of my issues. Okay, so you started with saying that basically, how do we know what's moral? We're just a collection of atoms, and everything is just by an accident. Could you tell me why, even if we are, or why you think, even if we are just a collection of atoms and that's an accident, why that would be something that is incapable of then developing morals and ethics? You didn't really explain why that negates the possibility of morals and ethics becoming a thing.
It becomes completely reliant on just human inclination, which is the result of simply an accidental process that can't be trusted. So, like, I brought up several examples where to a child, their inclination is that that needle is harming them, but it's a life-saving vaccine. So, should we trust our feelings or should we not trust our feelings?
Well, it's not just all about feelings, it's about what is going to help humanity thrive. And I could counter that with the fact that I go to the gym 5 days a week and it hurts me every single time. But I know it's for the greater good of improving my overall fitness and health. And the secular humanism is about reducing overall harm. Yeah, a vaccine might hurt because it stabs you, but it's going to give you a better chance to go on in the future and be better. But then when you're able to make your own decisions, you don't have to get a vaccine and no one's going to force it.
We have to use a code word. Instead of that word that starts with a V,
Right.
we have to use serum.
Sorry.
Serum.
That was
Apologies.
me who brought it up. I'll take the bullet on that one.
No, you're right. My bad. I talk about, I do try and forget saying that word. Yes. So, all right. But then you made you did the same thing that Andrew did when I spoke to him, and you said, well, what if we take someone and experiment on them to help everybody else? You do realize that goes against one of the tenets of secular humanism, which is about personal autonomy. So it would be something that secular humanists wouldn't do. We wouldn't take people prisoner to experiment on them.
Couldn't you make an argument that could be applied? Doesn't a child have personal autonomy to decide whether or not they want to receive a vaccine?
No, a child doesn't have the personal autonomy because they don't have the cognitive functions to have that personal autonomy. They don't know what is good or not for them. However, once an adult is an adult, they can make those decisions for themselves. As parents, we take on the responsibility of our children's health until they are capable of doing that themselves. The child doesn't have the cognitive functions to decide if that is good or not.
I understand that there's an answer to it. What I'm saying is these are ambiguous answers that are a result of an accidental process. So what I'm trying to expose is how ambiguous it is.
but why is ambiguity a bad thing when there's so many people and so many things to consider? There's no one overreaching voice saying this is what you do. It is humanity getting together and seeing what has happened to us and what we can learn from that to then be better in the future.
But better
Sorry.
is itself a value statement. That is itself a value statement. So like, what do you mean by better? Because you said
to be able to thrive more, to be able to to be able to be in a position where you can increase birth rates when it is appropriate, when there is enough resources and things like that. Secular humanism is about humanity thriving, and the thing that you put forward in your intro was about taking away that thriving ability and saying, well, that's also secular humanism because it goes against what religion says. You kind of miss the point of secular humanism being about making humanity, giving it the ability to thrive in the best way that it can without having to rely on one voice from a deity that possibly doesn't exist.
But I don't know what thrive means, because now you're saying that the experiments, that's actually against a tenet of secular humanism, but it would result in quote unquote thriving because it would save the masses from dying from this pandemic. So I don't know what you mean by thrive.
Well, that's why there's the tenets there. That's why there's the guidance of, yes, we want humanity to be able to advance and people be thrive, people be more happy, be more healthy. We all know what thrive means. We don't need to get bogged down in semantics of what words means. But we can't do that. We're taking away people's personal autonomy, which is one of the tenets of secular humanism. So we can't do that. We're not going to try and say, oh, well, this could be better at the, that person's harm. Would take away that one person's autonomy to make sure everyone else is better. That goes against the tenets of secular humanism.
Okay, I mean, this is your cross-exam, so I don't want to like push too much on these arguments. So,
right, okay. So the other thing you went on to really was about the Christian, about birth rates, right? And here's the thing: no one's going to disagree that secular countries overall, the countries that are more secular, because there's no secular governments, there's no Christian governments, it's governments elected by people, whatever, or dictators. But the countries that are more secular do tend to have, at the moment, lower birth rates. Are you aware of any of the things that are in place to change that, is my question, because it's something that you and a lot of other Christians bring up as something against secular humanism. And although I can agree that that is the case, are you aware of the measures in place to try and change that?
well, there's currently, that's the issue, is that it's going down at an increasing rate. So like from 2019 to 2024, it's gone from 1.70 to 1.43. So whatever we're doing isn't working.
Yeah, that's why there's more things in more recent times. Like if you look at secular countries like Japan and France, trying to put forward a 4-day week work, so the a 4-day week work, so that there's more time at home to make babies. There's a lot of countries that are literally secular countries like Scandinavia and stuff that are now literally throwing money at parents to have more children because they have taken note that the birth rate has fallen, and even more significantly over more recent years. So the past 2 to 3 years since COVID has moved away, there's been a lot of work within a lot of the secular countries to try and increase the birth rate in natural ways by making more time for couples to be together, giving tax breaks to couples, saying that if you have more babies, we will give you more money to look after them, making childcare easier. So the fact that you keep going back to, not just you, but other Christians, you keep going back to the birth rate thing, it means that you haven't really looked into what is happening now in the secular countries.
Well, you brought up in your debate with Jim Bob that if a man wanted to leave his family, because that was what was going to make him happy, that under the secular humanist framework, there was nothing wrong with that. So if people are just having children because they like the idea of having a kid and not for the sake of future society, then that itself is problematic.
I didn't say that though. My point was that secular countries are putting in place measures for couples to have more babies, and to have more time for couples to be in place. And there is tax breaks for being married and having a family and allowing that to be a thing. But at the same time, secular humanists allow for things like adoption, and non-standard families that deal with the people that don't want the babies, which studies show the majority of children that end up being orphaned actually come from Christian parents. So how do you feel about that?
That what studies say? What? That they come from?
Studies show that more of the orphan children come from Christian or religious families.
What studies say that? Studies in Kenya?
I don't have my notes with me. I wanted to present a bunch of this, but I was reading a bunch of studies that show that adoption rates from non-standard families, like gay couples and stuff like that, the children that they're adopting, the children themselves came from Christian parents who then put the children up for adoption for whatever reason. And that seemed to be the higher amount of children up for adoption was from Christian or religious families.
I mean, I presented several quotes from secular scholars that say the opposite about Christians and their
secular scholars versus actual studies.
No, they're citing studies. They're citing studies in the quotes. They're talking about study. What's that?
When were these from?
These were from.
Because I'm citing like well. I wish I had my stuff with me instead of packing it away. But the things that I've been looking at are the recent years, the past 2 to 5 years. The majority of orphaned children come from religious families, and then picked up by non-religious and non-standard families. So
I don't think that's true. But regardless, like I pointed out at the end of my opening statement, like there's bad Christians who do bad things. So that doesn't disprove Christian ethics any more than a bad doctor disproves medical practice as a whole. So,
okay. So the other one thing I wanted to ask you really was, do you agree that Christian ethics comes from God?
Yes. Yeah, I believe it comes from God. Yes.
And this is the same God that, drowned the entire world when he was in a bad mood, right?
Well, that's not what occurred. The
great there was a flood that killed everyone because he didn't like something that happened, right?
I mean, do you realize how much time people had to repent and how many opportunities God gave them to repent?
It doesn't matter. None of that matters.
It does
matter. It doesn't matter how much time people had to repent, whatever. The fact is that
it does matter.
Your God, which you are based
wrap up. So we did run out of time on that first cross exam. We have to move in the next section.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was
we're gonna have 30 minutes of open dialogue after this, Craig. So we're gonna have time to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kick into the 10 minutes where Luigi will now cross-examine Craig. Floor is all yours.
Okay, can you define harm?
Can I define harm?
Mm-hmm.
Harm is something that causes unhappiness, causes pain. I mean, again, the arguing semantics of words it is irrelevant. We all know what harm means.
That's
would you define harm as something different to me?
That's an ad populum fallacy to it. Yeah, actually, people do perceive harm differently. I mean, I already gave the example of the child, and I don't think you have a sufficient answer for. I mean, if the ultimate goal is thriving society. You can't have a thriving society if everyone's going to be wiped out by a pandemic. So you have to perform these experiments on these people. So that's an ambiguous standard. There's no standard there.
That's not true. We have other ways of surviving pandemics without performing experiments on people. So, I mean, you and Jim, Bob, and Andrew keep asking for the definition of simple words like harm. We all know what harm is. It's something
that's an ad populum fallacy. Do you realize that's a logical fallacy?
It doesn't matter if it's a fallacy. You're committing the fallacy. Well, right? It's when you do that, you're simply committing the fallacy. You're saying because I've said something that you consider to be fallacious, therefore the argument is incorrect.
Okay,
And that's
apelum is not something I consider to be fallacious. It is a logical fallacy.
no. What I'm saying is you are considering what I've said to be fallacious, and therefore you are considering the argument incorrect, whereas that is in itself fallacious. Just because an argument may contain some fallacious bits, it does not mean the argument in itself is incorrect. So I would appreciate it if you allow me to finish my argument before you try to cut me off by claiming it's a fallacy.
Okay.
We all know what harm means. We are all aware of what harm is. It's something that causes physical, emotional, psychological, social, or financial damage to you or a group. Simple. We all know what harm is and how to reduce harm. You don't stick your hand in a fire because that will reduce the harm. The getting down to the semantics of define harm doesn't get to the answer of what is better for an ethical foundation.
Is it not harming a prisoner to put them into a prison? Does that not remove their happiness?
Prisons are places where of last resort, right? There always has to be a last resort. However, prisons are not a place to, at least in the UK, they are not a place designed for harm. Prisons are a place designed for rehabilitation. At least they should be, until they became financial institutions across most of the Western world.
So do you not agree that
sticking somebody in a prison is not supposed to be causing that person harm? What it is supposed to be doing is reducing the harm that person could do to others and helping to rehabilitate that person so that they can possibly thrive in the future.
Okay, but you said happiness. Okay, it's going to reduce a prisoner's happiness to put them into a prison. And it's in many ways it's violating their autonomy because you're taking them and you're putting them in a place they don't want to be. So in that case, it is acceptable to violate. Hang on a second. Is it then acceptable in some cases under secular humanism to violate bodily autonomy?
As a last resort to prevent harm to other people, but again, a prison is not a place for harm. We're not putting someone there to harm them. They may not like it, but we are putting a prisoner in prison to rehabilitate them, which in the long run will actually make them a better person and reduce the harm that they have to themselves, reduce the mental health, the things that they suffer, reduce the problems that they have. They undergo therapy, they undergo training for a new job to become a beneficial and useful member of society. We don't put people in prison to harm them. We put people in prison to stop harm happening and to help that person become a useful member of society. It's an incorrect thing to say that
this is
harm.
This is why the definitions of these words matter, because you just made all these exceptions for all the terminology used to define harm earlier. Yes, you did. It violates their autonomy to put them in a place they don't want to be.
Yeah, I didn't say harm is about autonomy.
Nobody can argue that
you're mixing up things.
Hey, let me finish. Nobody would be able to argue that putting a prisoner in a prison is something that they want to happen. Okay, you are taking away their happiness. Therefore, you are harming them based on your own definition of harm. Do you see why the definitions of words matter and it's not just semantics?
Again, we all know what it means, though. But again, you are missing the point of what a prison is for. It is to rehabilitate someone and to stop harm happening. That person's autonomy will be returned to them once they are rehabilitated, once they are able to use that autonomy. Right? Secular humanism also has to defend other people. But you're completely missing the point of what a prison is for, and you're saying, well, you're also conflating the tenets of secular humanism with my definition of harm. I didn't say harm had anything to do with autonomy. I said one of the tenets of secular humanism is to protect individual autonomy.
I'm pointing out that was the standard you gave for me for why the medical experiments were wrong. But now you're saying there are examples where we can, in fact, violate someone's autonomy, at least for a time period. So why couldn't we do the same for a highly dangerous medical experiment? We can give them their autonomy back after the experiment because it's for the good of society.
How do you know they're going to get their autonomy back after the experiment?
Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Just like a prisoner.
We're going to go down the fallacious route. You're taking us to the fallacy of ad insurdium, where you're taking a simple statement to the ridiculous extremes. We could push things with Christianity. With all the ridiculous things they've done, saying it's okay to do a lot of things like keep a slave and things like that, because Jesus said that the slave should do as they're told and things like that. So we can't use these ridiculous examples way out of the purviews of secular humanism. A prison isn't designed to harm people. A prison is designed to reduce harm overall and rehabilitate people.
Based on your definition of harm,
they gave up their right. They gave up their right.
Do you want to redefine what harm means?
The laws of the lands.
Okay. Do you want to redefine harm? Do you want? Okay. Do you? Let's just go down the line.
I told you. You asked me a question.
Gentlemen, I hate to interrupt, but just because we hold on, just gentlemen, I have to interrupt just because we're not able to hear otherwise. Okay, take one deep breath.
Yeah. So you did ask me a question.
Take a deep breath. Hold on. You need to take a deep breath. Okay. Craig,
okay,
relax.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Okay. Luigi,
Right.
I need you to give Craig.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you finished. I apologize.
Luigi, I need you to give Craig a chance to finish answering. And then I promise we'll give you the next chance to ask your question. And then Craig, I just needed to be pithy so that Luigi can ask his next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question was, do we want to change the definition of harm? No, I told you what my definition of harm is. Harm is any action, inaction, or condition that causes physical, emotional, psychological, social, or financial damage to an individual, group, or society. That is what harm is, and that is the definition that we're going to go with.
That's not what you said initially. You said happiness. So are you removing happiness from part of your definition of harm? When you take away happiness, is that no longer part of harm?
The words that I've just said, that is what we're going to go with.
Okay, so you're backtracking on the word happiness.
I would personally put happiness in there, but if you want a hard definition of harm, I have just given it to you. Would you like me to answer the question again, or are you going to keep
read the definition off the screen one more time?
So you do want me to answer
the
question?
Read the definition. You changed it from happiness. Now I want to hear the new definition.
There's not a new definition. It is just
a definition. I'm moving on to a different question because this is the audience has seen what they needed to see from you. Okay,
I answered the question
in your debate with Jim Bob.
And then I answered.
In your debate,
this isn't a debate of Jim Bob. This is
move on, please.
I do want to give Luigi a chance to ask his question.
Okay. In your debate with Jim Bob, you said if Christians want to vote for Christians in office who implement Christian laws, they cannot. Do you still agree with this, or do you want to backtrack from that too?
I didn't say that at all.
You did. Everybody can go watch with Jim Bob. He said that if Christians vote,
anyone can be voted.
Okay, so you want to backtrack from that too. So wait a minute. So
I probably said that they shouldn't. Would you like me to answer, or no? I probably said they shouldn't. I didn't say that they couldn't because they can be voted in and put in whatever laws they want. You did say that. I can't decide what laws are put in.
You did say no. You did say in Christian. Okay, let me make sure I'm making the question really specific. I'm saying those Christian bureaucrats, can they implement Christian laws if they are elected by Christian people? If they are in a position to change laws and that everyone votes on, then yes, they can. Okay, then you definitely didn't say. You said no in the debate with Jim Bob, but I appreciate you backtracking. You probably misunderstood what I said. You probably misunderstood. Well, I'll go get the clip. Nobody can decide what laws are made apart from the people in the position to do that. And if the people in the position that are voted in that position happen to be Christian and put a bunch of Christian values in their laws, and then that's ratified by whatever process, then that can happen and nobody can stop that. I never said that, no, that can't happen.
We are at the end of the cross-exam where Luigi's asking questions. We're going to jump into the open dialogue. Gentlemen, the floor is all yours for open dialogue.
I'd love to go back to just the base of this is about a foundation for ethics, and the foundation for ethics on your side, Luigi, is God. And God is, if real, not a very nice deity. Like, let's be honest about it. Like, by whose standard? By whose standard? Because by God any is by nature, person's standard. God is by any person. God is by nature good. So anything that he does is good. I would disagree with that. I would very much disagree with the assumption that God by his nature is good, because God has, on a whim, wiped out humanity, sent people to pillage and rape and destroy other people, told somebody to sacrifice his own son. That's incorrect. No, it's not. What are you even referring to? What are you even referring to? I mean, I'm trying to say a bunch of stuff that happened in the Old Testament. They did not. They were not told to rape and pillage. God told somebody to murder their own son as a test of faith. Did he?
Did he or
These
did
are
God provide?
ethics.
Do you understand the story of that is it's
Yes, I do.
foretelling of Christ?
Did God tell
Do you
somebody
understand?
to murder their own son? Hold on. The question is, did God tell somebody to murder their own son? Yes or no?
That's, oh my goodness. Do you understand that
Yes
that
or no
story is
question.
it is a
It's a
foretelling of
yes or no
Christ?
question, Luigi. I would like you to answer a simple yes or no question. Did God tell somebody to murder their own son? Yes or no?
As a type of Christ who would eventually, God himself who would be sacrificed for us, as a type of that, yes. It is
So
literally
yes, God. So what
as
you're
a
saying is
type,
yes.
as
Yes, God told somebody to murder their own son.
as a
Second
as a
question:
type
did
of
God
God's
wipe out
son,
all of humanity
as
because
a
he didn't
type,
like what
as
was
a
happening?
as a
I
type
need,
of,
we can't have both people talking at the same time.
Yeah, I finished the question. He was still answering the last one. So the answer is yes, God told somebody to kill their own son. Second question: did God wipe out most of humanity because he didn't like what was happening?
okay, I'm
Yes.
not giving these are these are literally complicated questions that can't just be answered yes
They're
or no.
not
I
really
have to be able to
complicated
expand.
questions.
I have to be able to
We have
expand
to
on
give
the
him a
answer.
chance to answer.
I have to be able to expand on the answer than just yes or no. I already said yes. And because God's nature is good, if he had not done
I
that,
disagree
then it
with
would have
that.
been not good. And
Can
again,
you
he had
provide proof that God's nature is good?
for those people to repent, and they did not.
So because they didn't do what God said, God was out to kill
By
them.
what standard are you even saying it's wrong? Can you actually tell me by what standard you're saying it's wrong?
I'll tell you what, I murder and rape as much as I want.
Are you
know
God?
how much that is?
Are you the author of
Yes.
life?
Yes, I am actually.
You're the author of life.
Yeah, in about 50 years, I invent a time machine. I go back in time and I start the Big Bang and create all life in the universe as I like. Can you disprove that?
Are you omnipotent?
Yes. Can you disprove this?
You're omnipotent.
Yes.
Okay, then I don't know. Give me a cheeseburger right now. I want a cheeseburger since you're omnipotent.
No, you don't deserve it.
I don't deserve my cheeseburger? Why not?
No, absolutely not. See,
Okay.
this is the thing.
Ridiculous.
You just said God by its nature is good. I dispute that fact because a
By
good
what
person
standard? By
doesn't.
what standard?
Well, I was about to say by what standard? By
Okay.
the standard that wiping out all of humanity because you don't like what they are doing is not good.
So do you realize what humanity was doing? Practicing cannibalism, rape, all the things. Here's what's funny about this. You complain about all the evil in the world, and then when God
Made
wipes
by
out
God.
when God wipes out all the evil in the world, then you complain that God wiped out all the evil in the world.
Was everyone evil? Was everybody in the world?
Yes. Every single
An
person.
innocent child being born was not evil.
Okay.
Not every person in the world was evil, right? And here's the thing: your God
Yes, every
planned
person was
that
evil.
to happen because your God is the one that created everything and knew everything that was going to happen. So your God knew that the result of Eve eating that apple would be that lots of people in the world were evil and would not repent. Your God knew that would happen, so your God knew that he would have to wipe out all of humanity. So your God, in fact, planned for people to become
Foreknowledge is
evil
not causation.
and then get wiped out, meaning that your God planned to
I'm
kill
still
all
waiting on a
humanity,
standard.
no matter
I'm
what.
still waiting on a
So,
standard for why any of this is bad. I'm still waiting on a standard. You just keep asserting
so
it's
are
bad.
you saying that wiping out people isn't bad? Are
I'm
you
not.
saying
I am
it's not
asking
bad?
you. I'm
Right,
asking
no,
you a
okay.
very.
My standard is that I think genocide is bad. Do you think genocide is bad?
By what standard are you saying that? Just your opinion? Lots of people
Yes.
have.
My opinion is genocide is bad. What is your opinion on genocide?
Oh my goodness. By what
Do you think genocide
standard?
is bad or not?
By what standard? And how are you even defining genocide? By
Do
what
you think
standard?
well the entire everyone in the humanity was wiped out?
Notice how you don't answer the question. You just say it's my
I
opinion.
just did. I
Why
just
should we
answered
listen to
the
you?
question, Luigi. Did you
Why
not hear
should
the
we
words
listen
that
to
came out of my
you?
mouth?
Greg, can you tell me why we should listen to you? Why should we listen to your opinion?
Because I don't want to genocide people, because I never murdered anyone, unlike your God.
Okay. That's you've never done it, it's wrong? What? What kind of logic
Yes,
is that?
yeah, well, here's like I said earlier, I murder as much as I want. Whenever I feel like it, Luigi, I go out and murder. But
Okay.
I don't, right? I don't because I don't want to murder because I know that is a bad thing to do. I do not need the threat of hellfire and instructions from somebody that doesn't exist to know that murdering is bad.
This is actually a great point. What do you think that like pretty much everybody knows that murder is wrong?
Yes.
Okay. Where does that come from?
That by causing harm to people, knowing that taking away people's
We already,
suffering,
yeah.
causing pain and suffering to someone is bad. It is bad. Are
But
you
pain and
really
suffering is
trying
okay.
to, wait, one
Suffering
second,
is okay when
one
it's a
second,
prisoner.
Luigi, one second. Are you really trying to say, oh, we don't know if murder is good or bad?
No,
but there has to be somebody to tell us if that is good or bad. Is that what you're doing?
In my opening statement, I get through divine revelation, we know that God's laws have been written on our hearts. That's why we generally agree on the basic standards of morality. You, on the other hand, cannot give an account for where that comes from, why that's even here.
Yes, I can.
How?
Absolutely, I can. Evolution.
Yeah, no, based on the experiments earlier, the case studies, your evolutionary process is actually not sufficient for having a prosperous society. Or you can't even tell me what a prosperous
I'm sorry, but that's
society is.
completely incorrect. Evolution, part of evolution is having a prosperous
If
society.
secular humanism,
Wait, hold on. I'm answering the question. Evolution is about the surviving through the harshness of your environments. And having a prosperous society is one of the things that helps us evolve through the harshness of our society. So evolution is where society comes from.
Okay, if having a prosperous society, even if I grant you whatever prosperous means, let's say I just don't press you on that. We've already established. We've already established. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. We've already established.
I can send you a link to dictionary.com.
I do want to give Luigi a chance to finish that sentence. Go ahead, Luigi, finish that sentence.
If secular humanism is the peak of human evolution, then it's going to wipe us out based on the data right now of the birth rates. So even if I granted all that, even if I granted every single one of those points, even if I said, you're right, Craig, which you're not, it would mean that the peak, hang on a second. It would mean that in the peak of humanity, we're going to wipe ourselves out and be replaced by Muslims in the West. That's what it would mean, because that's what's happening in your poster child countries in Scandinavia.
Okay, so I guess you didn't listen to what I said earlier about how the countries that have realized that their birth rates are falling have put in place measures for that to stop. And the studies show that thanks to the measures, they expect the birth rate in all of these countries to increase, especially in France and Scandinavia and many other secular countries.
What studies show that?
The studies, again, I don't have anything with me.
There's no studies that show that. The data is...
Right, okay, I can talk to you about...
Have these not been...
Right,
okay.
Wait, do you want me to answer it if you give me 1 sec? Because I did have some of my notes here with me. Right, so secular nations are rolling out the red carpet for parents with cold hard cash. Hungary, for example, gone all in with tax breaks, loan forgiveness, and even straight up cash bonuses for families to have multiple children. Nothing to do with religion there. A way to increase.
Where's the data showing it's? Where's the data showing it's succeeding? And is Hungary?
It hasn't happened yet. Studies show that the studies show that when these things are put in place, like in previous years, it increases birth rates. Having tax breaks for couples, reducing the work week and things like that actually allows for increased birth rates. Those are the studies I'm talking about. But I can link you to the articles that these come from because I at least have those available. So parental leave policies, countries like Germany and Sweden are champions of parental leave, aiming to increase the amount of paid time off parents have to allow them to have more children. This expects the birth rate to increase because parents are more likely to have time off whilst being still paid. Japan's metropolitan government is implementing the 4-day work week to specifically increase family time and increase the birth rate. This is expected by 2030 to bring the birth rate back well above the 2.0 limit. So there is many things.
No data.
Secular country.
There's absolutely no data.
Did you not hear the data is to come once they see what happened, right? What secular humanists do is they will look at what's happening and then try to find a way to fix it. Yes, we've noticed that there's a lack in birth rates. We know that's a problem. We agree. Nobody's saying that that's not a thing. But what we are doing as secular humanists and secular nations is putting in place measures to hopefully increase the birth rate. And what we can do is we can look in a few years' time and go, has the birth rate increased as much as the studies thought that they would? No. Well, let's tweak some things, give some more time off, give some more cash breaks, and then see what happens again. We don't expect an immediate fix. We don't expect within the next 5 years there to be 1 billion more babies. We expect the birth rate to slowly increase to the point it is without having to rely on a magical deity that says murdering the entire world because it's in a bad mood is okay.
It's a non sequitur, has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But
absolutely does have everything to do with
it's basically already too late for Sweden anyway. They're so far below and that's by the way,
not too late.
That's including all the Muslims that are there. All the Muslims that are having babies. So that
what evidence do you have it's too late? You've just made a very big claim there. Evidence do you have that it's too late for Sweden because their government
realize 1.43 versus 2. Really, it's 2.1 is what you need. 2.1 to replace each one of the parents.
0.01.
2.1. 2.1 is it. Actually, a lot of sociologists say 2.5. But whatever, it doesn't matter. 1.43, including all the Muslims that are now 10% of the population, they're having all these babies. So they're already, I mean, like I said, in 30 years, they've gone from 1% Muslim to 10% Muslim. So by the time 2030 comes around, they're going to be 15, 20% Muslim. So it's already too late. They're already being replaced. Second, the peak of human development, secular humanism, is already being replaced by religious populations.
Okay. It's like you're not hearing the words that I'm saying. And you just made a massive claim that it's too late when it's not, when the Scandinavian government disagree with you.
Well, of course, they're going to say they disagree.
The Scandinavian governments, all the Scandinavian countries, have literally put in place measures to increase birth rates. That doesn't involve just bringing in a bunch of religious people.
They've done that.
It's too late. It's just false.
They've done that in Japan, and it didn't work. They've done that in Japan.
It is working in Japan. It actually is working in Japan. I just read to you earlier what Japan's doing and how it is working in Japan.
Where's the data that says that it's working in Japan?
I can link you the article from the Times. It's actually what I've got a lot of this done from. They've been studying, and the birth rate in Japan has actually been going up in the past few years compared to what it was.
Probably because of increased immigration.
No, actually, it's not. It's because of the initiatives put in place to increase birth rates. Here's the thing. There's a low birth rate. There's a low birth rate, and it's because of secular humanism. Well, maybe it is because of the influence of secular humanism, but they've noticed there's a problem, and we've noticed that might not help humans flourish as much as we want, and they are doing things to make it better. So attacking a point that is in the process of being improved is a ridiculous way to go.
Again, there's no data to support it. This is all tentative. He's just asserting things. Of course, the nations are going to make efforts to try to stop their inevitable demise. Of course, the nations are going to try
inevitable demise. Can you please prove that that's an inevitable demise? Because you keep making the claims that it's gonna happen.
You need to have at least 2 babies per woman.
As we established earlier, I'm the only one that has the powers to time travel.
It is currently decreasing at an increasing rate. Last year it was 1.45. It's down to 1.43. It's still decreasing. And
next year it might go up because they have put in place things to happen, right? Here's the thing, having babies takes time.
Yeah,
it doesn't just take 9 months, because a lot of people won't get pregnant in 9 months. All right. Sometimes it can take years for couples to have babies, but the things that have been put in place have been put in place. There is more time off for parents. There is more paid paternity leave for parents. There is more help, more tax breaks. There is more reasons for people to have babies, and that is what they are doing. We have to look again in 5 years.
But
we have to look again in 5 years once these things that have been put in place have been tested to see, right, has the birth rate increased? Do we need to do other things? Is there anything else we can do to help increase the birth rate that doesn't involve bringing in religious zealots?
Even if all of this starts to bring the birth rates up, you said in your debate with Jim Bob that if a man wants to leave his family, as a secular humanist, you have no leg to stand on to tell him that he shouldn't do that because it's going to make him happy to leave his family. Do you still stand by that?
Did you know? Yeah, no one can stop a man doing what he wants. But did you know that the highest rate of divorce is actually in Christian families?
That's not true. And it's especially not true.
100% true.
It's especially not true. Hang on a second. There's a difference between being nominally Christian and actually being Christian.
Oh, no. We don't get to do the no true Scotsman fallacy.
It's not no true Scotsman. It's not no true Scotsman because, hang on a second.
You're here to defend Christians.
Hang on a second.
That
Hang on a
includes the
second.
Christians
Hang
in-
on a
that
second.
includes Christians in Africa. Hold on. That includes the Christians in Africa.
I do need to. All right, just need to reset it here, just so that people want to be able to hear you guys. But if they're talking over each other, they won't be able to hear either of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want
So
to point
just
out
be
that it's
clear,
not a
though,
no true Scotsman. Hang on a second. It's not a no true
If I
Scotsman.
could finish.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I
want to
think
finish my sentence, please. Thank you. Right.
so. If
So
it's on the
you're here
no
to
true
defend-
Scotsman statement, if you want to wrap that up, but otherwise, if you say he used that
Yeah.
fallacy and he wants to address it before you move to a new point, then I want to go to Luigi.
Yeah, no, my point is that you're not here to just defend one bit. You're here to defend every single Christian in the world. That includes the Christians in Africa.
Is this about the
that
no true
use,
Scotsman fallacy?
Yeah, yes, that is. Yeah, you say it's because
So if someone calls
it's
wait a
only
minute.
mine.
So
It's every single Christian in the world,
Wait a minute.
regardless of the denomination, is who
Okay.
you are here to defend.
So by this logic, if you call yourself a secular humanist, but you don't subscribe to any of the tenets of secular humanism, then by Craig's standard, he has to defend that person based on what he just said. Because he said, if you
What?
call yourself a Christian, but you don't subscribe to Christian values, then I still have to defend that person. The reason why it's not a no true Scotsman fallacy,
That's not what I said.
that is what you just said. Well, okay,
No,
then
you
say it again.
understood completely what I said.
Okay, go ahead.
I've said,
Try again.
I've said you don't get to pick and choose which version of Christianity you're here
It's
to
not
defend.
version.
You have to defend all of them.
I'm not defending a version of Christianity. I'm defending Christianity. If you call yourself a Christian, but you do things that are not Christian, then you're not a Christian. Just like if you call yourself hang on a second, just like if you call yourself a secular humanist, but you don't subscribe to secular humanism, you're not a secular humanist. Okay,
But there is
and hang
sects
on a
of
second. Let me finish.
Christianity that disagree with each other about what Christianity is.
Let me finish. The same studies that talk about Christian divorces, which when we're talking about nominal Christians, yes, it is about on par with the rest of the world. However, the same studies show that the couples who pray together every single day, their divorce rate is less than 1%. Less than 1% for the couples that actually practice Christianity. Less than 1%.
Right. But overall, Christians have a higher rate of divorce.
That's, first of all, that's not true. And second of all,
absolutely is. It's 100% true. You can't deny this. This is a fact. The highest rate of Christian divorces comes from Christians. That's a fact.
It's not a fact.
Especially
fact,
in America.
and even if it was
100% a fact.
It's not a fact. And again,
Right, and what do you mean by nominal Christians? Could you just define?
Yeah,
Christians?
People who say they're Christians who don't follow any Christian values. They don't.
Right.
There's
a bunch of different sects that say different things about Christian values. So you might think Christian values are different to a different sect of Christianity that thinks different Christian values.
The definition of a Christian has been the same for roughly about 1600 years at the Council of Constantinople in 381 when we established the Nicene Creed that every single Christian subscribed to. If you do not subscribe to that, then you are not a Christian.
No, there's many Christian sects that don't subscribe to Nicene Creed.
That's not
with that
okay.
council.
I didn't say Nicene II.
Did not
I didn't say
all
Nicene II.
Christians.
I said Constantinople in 381.
And then you said the Nicene Creed.
No, okay. There are no Christians who don't. If you do not subscribe to the Nicene Creed, you are not a Christian.
There is Christians that disagree.
They're not Christians. They're not Christians.
According to you.
According to historical
Christianity, they think they're Christians.
According
to historical
Christianity, they're not Christians.
But they think they're Christians, so you don't get to say that.
I do want to get us off this topic just because it kind of feels like we have more material to cover and we've already spent a good amount of time on this. Is there another topic that you guys would like to address? We only have about 9 minutes left during the open dialogue.
How much time do we have left?
We only have about 9 minutes left before we wrap up the open dialogue.
I want to go back to understanding Craig's standard for why he's calling God a moral monster. I want him to give me an actual, other than just like so far all we've gotten is that it's
because he's killed a bunch of people, murdered a bunch of people, said it's okay to murder.
I still haven't. That's not answering the objection, Craig. What is the reason?
Because that is bad. Murder is bad. Genocide is bad.
Is it bad? Is it bad when a tiger feeds on its prey? Is that bad?
Is
What's
God an
that?
animal?
No, I'm
Is God an
asking you
animal?
if that bad. I'm trying to nail down your
Right.
standard, Craig. I'm
Is
trying
an
to nail down your
animal
standard.
acting on
I'm
instinct, or is an
trying
animal
to I'm
choosing to
trying
do
to
that
nail
thing?
down your standards, Craig. I'm
My
trying to nail down
standard is
your
very
standards.
simple.
Is it
Murder and
wrong?
genocide is
All
bad.
right,
Is it
gentlemen.
wrong?
If we have everybody speaking at once, people aren't able to hear either of your points.
Yeah.
Craig, I'm
I'll
trying to
make
nail
it
down
very,
your
very simple
standards.
for you.
Okay.
Luigi, I'll
I'm
make it
just
very
going
simple
to
for
I'm
you.
just going to kick it over. What was the question that you asked Luigi?
No, he was asking me a question.
I asked him,
I'm
is
asking
it
him what
wrong?
was the question he asked? Yes.
I asked him if it was wrong for a tiger to feed on his prey, and then he ran from the question to say, I'm calling God an animal. I'm asking him his standard of morality.
Let's give him 30 seconds to answer it, and then if he doesn't answer it within that 30 seconds, at the end of it, you can say, "Hey, here's why you didn't answer it." But I do need to give him 30
Okay.
seconds uninterrupted.
Go ahead.
An animal eating its prey is just nature. It's what happens. There's nothing wrong with it. But God has according to you, the ability to choose to do things, and God chose to murder everyone, even though he could not do that. God chose genocide. God chose murder. And you think that is a place for a basis, a foundation for ethics from a evil deity that murders and causes and does genocide?
No, God did not
Genocide
murder.
is bad.
God did not murder. God did not murder. Again, atheists love to complain about God not taking care of evil in the world, and then when God wipes out the evil in the world, then they start complaining. Now, he said the answer to my question, he didn't actually answer. He said, "Oh, it's just nature."
I absolutely did answer. I said yes.
Hang on a second, Craig.
Don't lie about me.
do
I
have to.
said
All right,
yes.
Craig. Craig, I know that you think that you did answer, and I'm not saying that you're not correct, but I am saying that we give you 30
Correctly
seconds,
answered.
and so now he's gonna say what
Just
he
like
thinks,
stupid
and we have to
murder.
give him 30 seconds too, to be fair.
Okay, just saying that, oh, it's just nature. Humans are nature to you. How are humans transcendent of nature? And if so, you need to justify that. Tell me why humans are transcendent of nature. Evolution is that's a natural process to you.
Never said that, but we have the ability to choose. That's unique for us.
What is
right?
that?
I choose not to murder, right? Does God, it's a very simple question here. Does God have the ability to choose? Yes or no?
That is not relevant to the standard of morality.
Excuse me, I have asked your questions. I've answered your questions. So I'd like you to answer my question with a very simple yes or no. Does God have the ability to choose? Yes or no?
I don't even know what you like. Yes, I don't know what you mean. Like, what are you asking?
Thank you. So God has the ability to choose. So therefore, God chose for evil to exist in this world. So then God chose to kill the evil that he himself created.
He did not create evil. He allows evil to exist, which he uses eventually for good.
No, he created everything in the universe. Therefore, he created evil.
We see, no, okay. Evil does not have an ontological status. Evil is like darkness, okay? It is in the non-existence of light is darkness. In the same sense, the non-existence of good is evil. So what?
Where did evil come from?
What do you mean? Evil is not a thing. It doesn't have an ontological status.
Evil's not a thing.
Absence of good. Evil is just the absence of good.
Oh, so what? Oh, right. So what's good?
God.
God is good. No, again, God murders because of genocide. That's not good.
God does not murder people. Murder is unjustified killing. God does not murder.
Oh no, it's not justified to kill a baby.
I'm asking for your standard, Craig. You keep asserting these.
I've given you my standard. Murder is bad.
By what standard are you saying is that bad?
And it's by the fact that I don't need to know going to hell means that it's bad. I know that it's bad because I know it will cause suffering to other people. I know that because I am not evil. If you have to wonder why murder is bad, then that is a problem with you and the fact that you like to follow an evil deity. God does murder. He murdered babies. God murdered babies. God murdered babies.
God does not murder. God
murdered babies. You can't deny this. God murdered babies.
Is an unjustified
God murdered babies.
Murder is
hold on. Okay,
it's not justified to kill a baby.
Craig, 1 second. I think you said it 3 times in a row, Craig. That God murdered babies, but we gotta be able to hear what your opponent is saying. If you just keep shouting God murdered babies,
apologies,
you can't hear his
saying that
rebuttal.
God didn't murder. Yeah.
So
Because
we,
I
all right,
continue to.
well, we can't, if you just keep shouting over him, we can't hear him. So we need to hear from Luigi for about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back to you, Craig, for 30 seconds as well.
Okay, I keep asking Craig for his standard of why any of this is wrong. Who is he to say that this is a unjustified killing that God is committing? Who is he to say that? And how is it any different in his paradigm than a tiger eating his prey? He said, "Oh, that's a tiger doesn't have the ability to choose." Like,
Yes.
what are these ambiguous standards that he's just making up? Who determines that, oh, the ability to choose is what makes killing justified or unjustified? Who makes these rules? Is it just Craig? Who makes these rules?
Yes, it is me. I made the rule, but again, we all know what good and the killing is bad. But I want to push back on something you said. You said that God didn't create evil. Do you know Isaiah 45:7?
Yeah, he brings up read the verse again. It's the Hebrew and the Septuagint in the Greek.
I from the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil.
No, it's calamity. The word is calamity. It's improperly translated.
Not according to the original translation.
What is the original translation? Do you even know?
Well,
what's the oldest translation of the Old Testament?
Well, this is I'm getting the translation from.
What's the oldest translation of the Old Testament?
It would be the Hebrew translations, right?
What Hebrew translation? It's actually
the Septuagint. The exact one.
What?
Some argue here that evil is actually calamity or disaster. In Hebrew, the word is ra'ah. They claim it refers to things like war, natural disasters, not moral evil. But that's still bad, right? God's basically saying, "Yeah, I unleash plagues and destruction on you. Deal with it."
After the fall, so God has the right.
Either way, it's bad, right? Either God created evil or God created the things that bring evil. So it's one of the two.
It's not bad.
Evil isn't bad.
God,
right?
what man? We see this again and again. We see again and again in Scripture where God uses the evil of man for good. So God has the right to use those natural disasters, which are the result of mankind falling into sin. He has the right to use those things as the author of life, just as the author of a book has the right. He has the right as the author of life to use those things for good.
But he didn't use it for good. He killed babies. Killing babies isn't good.
By what standard? By what standard?
You want me to tell you by what standard killing babies isn't good? Is that really a question that you have to ask?
It is a question I've continued to ask that you have ran away from.
This is why Christians need the fear of hellfire to be good people.
No, and that's not even the Orthodox view. Jim Bob already educated you.
I don't care if it's the Orthodox view. You're here for Christianity.
In the Orthodox view, okay, I'm an Orthodox
Christian. Doesn't matter what the Orthodox view is. You're not here for
It does matter what the Orthodox view is. It does matter what the Orthodox view is. And for us,
look at the title of the debate for me. What's the title of the debate? And could you point out in the title of the debate where it says Orthodox Christianity?
Yeah, and I already told you how I define it, which is going to be the patristic view of Christianity, which is going to be the Orthodox view.
And it's still a bad.
I want to be able to tell people, because Craig wants me to not say this because he knows it's a really good explanation of hell, so he wants me to not say this. In the Orthodox view of hell, it's a state of being. So all of us will be exposed to God in his glory, and those of us who hate God will experience it as burning. Those of us who love God will experience it as blessed. That is the Orthodox view.
So hellfire by another name, basically.
It's God is giving you what you want. You hate God, Craig. That's what God's going to give you.
No, I don't hate God. God isn't real. You can't hate something that isn't real.
Yes, you do.
If God existed, yes, I would hate him. And when we met at the pearly gates, we would be fighting and I would be throwing the first punch.
Exactly. And so all God is going to say is,
I can't hate something that isn't real.
God is just going to say to you, your
claim that I hate God, let me be clear, to claim I hate God is a falsity because I don't think God is real. Okay? So I cannot hate something that isn't real. There is no hate involved. What I hate is apologists saying that the evil things God did are for good.
You hate me.
According to you, genocide and murdering babies is okay.
Genocide, because it's not unjustified killing again. So you hate me. Just
wait, where is genocide saying it's justified or not?
Oh my gosh, that is the definition of murder, which is what genocide is.
Did I say murder or genocide?
They're the okay. What is genocide, Craig? It's mass murder. Is it not?
It's wiping out an entire populace. And so, all right. So, could you explain to me how murdering babies is justified?
Oh my goodness.
Could you
It's in the
explain to me how
question. This is a
murdering
loaded
babies is
question.
justified, please?
This is a
No,
loaded question.
it's not a loaded question.
Murder.
Hey, hold no, wait. You don't get run away from
Oh
this.
my gosh.
You've just said that all the murder that God did is justified.
There's no murder. God didn't do any murder.
That includes-
God didn't do any
You just-
murder. God didn't do any
Yeah.
murder.
Killed people, that's murder.
That's killing is not okay. So when you go, if you shoot a Nazi in World War II, that's murder.
Yeah. It's legal murder,
Oh my gosh.
right? But the fact
We have
is,
to go to the Q&A.
God,
right.
one sec, I just want to finish this one point. Whether you call it murder or not, God unalived babies. Could you please explain how that is justified?
I've already explained it, and you have yet to
You
give a
haven't.
standard for why it's wrong. I've already explained it.
I've
and you've
given
yet
my
to give a
standard, but
for why it's
I've
wrong,
given
other than your
the
opinion.
standard
Other
because
than your
I've given
opinion.
my standard, but you haven't
Your
answered my
standard
question.
is your opinion.
you
Who cares
please-
about your opinion?
Could you please explain why it is justified to unalive
I've
babies?
already explained all this probably 10 times, and you have yet to give a
No, you haven't.
explanation for why it's
Everyone can
justified.
see him running
I
away
hate
from
to
the
do
simple
it, but
question.
we do have to jump into the Q&A. We do have a lot of questions to get through. Folks do want to say thank you very much for your questions. I don't know for sure. Any questions that come in from here, I don't know if we'll get to them because we do have such a long list, and I do want to make sure that we guys get these guys out of here about an hour from now, hour and 15 at the very most. We're going to jump right into them. Thank you very much for your first question. This one coming in from Barry says, learning nothing from previous debates, Craig decided to amp up the rhetoric and ignore understanding of the Christian philosophical arguments. Craig, I have a feeling you disagree.
Yeah, the Christian philosophical arguments really aren't important here. It was about a foundation for ethics and morality, and the foundation comes from God. And the fact is that God is, if real, an evil, petty, narcissistic, genocidal, psychopathic maniac.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question as well. Oh, that's right. I forgot to remind you, folks. We did mention that there is a housekeeping thing, a couple of quick ones that I mentioned earlier, but had not gotten to. One, if you have not subscribed yet, do hit that subscribe button because we have many more debates coming up, including this fall at DebateCon 6, which is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. We finally made a decision on the city. It will be in Nashville. We're very excited about that. So we'll be in the kind of quasi southeast of the U.S. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be huge, and that's this fall. So keep your eyes peeled for upcoming updates. Nuts. Muchgum says here to support Craig, just not his position. Sorry, man. You know I love you, but you made the same mistake Andrew made in your debate. It's not about what you don't like about the opposing position.
Oh no, I made my position clear that secular humanism is about human flourishing and stuff, and I just also pointed out that the ethical foundations, that's what we're here to discuss, the foundations. The foundations comes from God, and it's not that I don't like God, it's that God has objectively, if real, done horrific things.
Objectively, by your opinion, which is subjective.
Objectively by everybody's.
I've pressed you on this, and you continue to say it's your opinion. It's you that's saying it. So no, it's not
objectively, murder is bad.
By what standard? By what standard?
By the fact it unalives people.
That's circular. That's circular reasoning.
No, it's not. That's a bad thing.
That's just the definition of murder. What are you
This one
talking
from,
about?
I hate to do it, guys. This from I'm Not Your Buddy guy says a secularist admin with Biden put a quote moderate unquote group in charge in Syria. As we speak, all the minorities, such as Christians, are being hunted and executed. I think they're saying that this is for you, Craig, as they say, quote, a secularist admin with Biden put a moderate, quote unquote, group in charge in Syria, and this is what happened.
Cool. American foreign policies aren't really the topic of this debate. And whether that person was secularist or not is irrelevant to the policies they put in place that would have been put down to them from the Biden administration, I imagine.
This one from Emperor Fat Ass Dog says, Craig, you do realize without Christianity, science wouldn't be a thing because the first scientists claimed that science was created on the foundation to discover the mysteries of God or God's laws.
Well, that's a lovely assumption there that if Christianity is the only thing that could ever have made science, let's make the assumption that Christianity never existed. Are you saying that you are 100% certain that science could never have come around by any other means? That's just not true. It is just an assumption that Christianity is the only way that science could have appeared.
You got it. And this one coming in from, do appreciate it. Emperor Fat Ass Dog strikes again, says whale fossils have been discovered in desert areas around the world. If the Bible is rubbish, then how are there whale fossils in a desert? Doesn't this prove the global flood did in fact happen, how the Bible says it happened?
No, Pangea was a thing, and continents have moved for many, many years. Ocean beds are, well, things that were ocean beds are now deserts, and those were ocean beds as little as 50,000 years ago. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a global flood, just the changing in the lands.
This one coming in from ZB says, Dr. Crispy, we don't like your name either. I don't know what that's about. Justin Henley says, Craig, you say everyone knows what harm means. I don't know what it means. Explain to me in the way everyone listening to this agrees with. And then they say, let's have a poll to see if they agree. James. I think they're saying, like, let's have a poll of people to see if they agree with Craig's definition.
Well, I already defined harm literally by reading out the definition because people were getting silly about it. Harm is any action, inaction, or condition that causes physical, emotional, psychological, social, or financial damage to an individual, group, or society. Emotional, Luigi, just in case you're wondering, includes happiness. Yeah.
Then putting people in prisons, it violates, it's harmful then. So harm is okay as long as it's in certain contexts.
It's a reduction of harm overall, and the person being in prison overall will reduce their harm.
Medical experiment is also a reduction of harm overall. So is the medical experiment.
Not for that person. No.
Same with the prisoner. Same with the prisoner.
No, the prisoner is being rehabilitated, not experimented on.
The prisoner certainly does not want. It's not increasing his happiness to go to prison.
Many prisoners that come out of prison say they are glad they were in prison because it allowed them to be rehabilitated.
Your standard would have to be
some people are evil. Some people are evil thanks to your God.
Okay, you're still violating their happiness and therefore harming them.
Yeah. Again, it's not about getting rid of harm completely. It's about reducing harm as much as we possibly can.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Alejandro Vallejo says, Craig, regardless of whether harm is subjective on our framework, so is subjective on theirs. Their definition of harm depends on God. If it depends on something, then it means it's subjective.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely correct. Their definition of their definition of harm comes from God. And if God is a single entity, that means it is a God's subjective version of what harm is.
No, it's objective. Yeah. Objective meaning it transcends human subjects. How I define objective.
God is a single entity. That would mean that God's version of harm is subjective to God.
It's objective to humanity, to human subject. It's transcendent of human subject.
We don't have to choose that, so it's subjective. The fact is, it comes from someone it comes from a single entity that makes it subjective. Just because some people choose to believe that entity doesn't then make it magically objective. It's still a subjective thing that is a choice that you have made to believe.
No, it's an objective standard that transcends me as a human subject, which is actually why we generally agree on things like murder being wrong. That actually explains why we agree with that. Whereas that actually explains why we agree with things like that. Whereas you have no justification other than evolutionary process, which is itself
a much better one.
No, it's not. It's completely ambiguous.
You think murdering babies?
Genghis Khan was great via the Darwinian evolutionary process because he extended his seed as far as possible. So no, it's completely ambiguous.
No, that's a complete misinterpretation of evolution. Genghis Khan actually went against evolution by not allowing humans to increase against the environment in the way that they naturally
No,
would.
it's like 1 out of every 6 people today is a descendant of Genghis Khan. He did a phenomenal job. Under an evolutionary process, he did a phenomenal job.
Again, you don't understand what evolution means. Evolution isn't just having more babies. Evolution is about whatever is good for the species as a whole. And sometimes what is being good for a species as a whole,
because
what is the value statement?
We could have a whole debate on evolution a
describing
different time. I do have to move to the next one. Biscuit Bro says, this is a stupid argument. Secular humanism and harm reduction are not focused on pure individual autonomy. I don't know who that's.
No, I didn't say they are pure individual autonomy. I say that's one of the things that we take into consideration.
This one from Yalda Boath says, was Jesus using Christian ethics when he commended the genocide of Amalek?
The Amalekites? Yes. So in those passages in the Old Testament, it was very common in the ancient Near East to use hyperbole when discussing an event. So for an example in like the modern times is like we might say that the Eagles annihilated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, which obviously does not mean that all the Chiefs are dead. That's not what it means. So those passages are using hyperbole to wiping out the majority of the nation. And we know this because the descendants of the Amalekites show up later in Scripture in 1 Samuel 30 and in Esther.
Hey,
this one coming in
Luigi, why do you tell people to abandon their families? That's weird.
What?
Why did Jesus tell people to abandon their families?
No, Jesus again is ironically, he's using hyperbole again. And in fact, that was specifically a Jewish idiom. And what he's specifically referring to in that particular passage is placing God above your family.
Which passage?
Are you talking about where he says to sell all your belongings and leave your father and mother to follow him?
No, Luke 14:26. If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple.
Yes, hate in the sense of compared to their love for God.
Not what it says.
That is what it says. And by the way, I'm not sola scriptura. I'm an Orthodox Christian, so I have the Church Father commentary that gives me who knew the apostles, who knew Jesus. So I have further clarification for what these passages mean. These kind of arguments work on Protestants. They don't work on us.
They do, because it still says that hate.
No, we know from
hate doesn't mean less liking. That's not what that word means.
It does in Greek. It actually does mean that in Greek. And we know again from the Church Father commentary on these passages and the interpretation from the Orthodox Church that is what Jesus is referring to. Obviously, Jesus
According
is not.
To you,
Craig, think about how ridiculous this is. Craig, Jesus says to love your neighbor as yourself. You think he's actually saying like hate your father and mother? Like you should despise.
Well, there's a lot of contradictions in the Bible. That's the thing.
Like this
Jesus,
is ridiculous.
there's a lot of things. Jesus said a lot of bad things to contradict the things that happen.
Yeah,
so,
basically all of your standards of morality you are borrowing from Jesus. So
that's not true.
So Biscuit Bro says prisons are a consequence of social structure. They are subjective. This is dumb. I don't understand what they mean.
Wait, can you read it again?
They say prisons are a consequence of social structure. They are subjective. This is dumb. It's a big brain comment there. I don't know what that means.
He doesn't like prisons, I guess.
ZB says, everyone rate Dr. Crispy's name out of 10. You can put that in live chat, folks. Richie says, Craig, do you think religious people are more likely to give kids up for adoption because they don't believe in abortion? Atheists just have abortions.
Yeah, actually, a lot of, in fact, there's a big TV show about it, about some religious families that have lots and lots and lots of children, and one religious family that had 4 children and then got pregnant 3 more times. Each time gave the baby up for adoption because they physically couldn't afford it, or instead them putting that child into a life in the adoption system. Whereas if they had the medical care and the abortion and stuff, then that child wouldn't have ended up in adoption. So yeah, the fact that you force people to have babies that they might not want to causes a lot of problems. It's like we care about the fetus, but fuck it after it's born.
This one coming in from, oh yeah, chat. Do want to, as long as you're within YouTube terms of service. So I know that the live chat sometimes is lively. Same as always. Like you can't say, like I can't say it on, but you know, you can't say Nigger. You can't say that. You you know, we ought not probably talk about the serum in the live chat
Yeah.
either. But otherwise, you know, it is a pretty easy.
Niger, the country in Africa, right?
That's right. You know, we got to follow YouTube terms of service. We don't want that stuff, but we otherwise it's pretty like flexible in chat. So if you want to make fun of my haircut, whatever, it's a fair game. It's a free country. This one from ZB says we got that one. Richie says, Craig, do you think religious people are more? We got that one.
Yeah, just
Biscuit Bro says his can make exceptions based on abstract post hoc apology. It just starts with his. Just his can make exceptions based on abstract.
Is it possible that his is a typo of Luigi?
Luigi can make exceptions based on abstract post hoc apology. Maybe, I don't know if that makes sense
They
to
want to
anybody.
expand what their point is.
I don't know. That is a Biscuit Bro. You gotta give me more words. I don't know what you're saying. ZB says low taper fade, low IQ arguments, shaking my head. What is low taper fade? Do I have a low taper fade?
Probably
I don't know.
me. He's probably for me.
But you don't have a
don't know.
low taper fade, do you?
People are saying about your hair, Luigi. What's wrong? What's wrong with your hair? I think
I don't
wrong
know.
with it.
We can't
I don't know what's
see
wrong.
because Luigi's in the dark. What are you doing over there in the dark by yourself, Luigi?
You need a bit
I
better
can't
light in
see.
there. Don't wrong with your hair.
I know. I need to get one of those ring lights, one of those fancy ring lights.
This one from Calvin says, don't worry, Craig, you can still ask Jesus for forgiveness still.
No, thank you. I don't want a racist to give me forgiveness.
Biscuit Bro says, it's pronounced Gordon Peterson. That's the same guy where I don't understand why he says what he says. This one from Jesus Eber Martinez says, my girlfriend said, quote, if you love me, smash your PlayStation, unquote. I picked up a hammer and swung. Mid-swing, she stopped me and I was happy I proved my love. Should I stay or should I leave her? I think they're drawing an analogy between God telling Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. I'll give you a chance, Luigi.
Can you read it one more time?
They said,
Now that I'm thinking about it in that context.
my girlfriend said, if you love me, smash your PlayStation. I picked up a hammer and I swung. Mid-swing, she stopped me and I was happy. And she was happy that I had proved my love. Should I stay or should I leave her?
That's a toxic relationship.
Yeah. So again, this is why I brought up. So it's very important in the story of Abraham and Isaac to understand it's a type of God's son going up the hill to be sacrificed for our sake. So the story is not only testing Abraham's faith; it's also a type of God Himself sacrificing for all of humanity. So it's not just a test of Abraham's faith. That is one portion of the story, but that's not all of it.
You got it.
But let me
Adam,
be clear. If your girlfriend is telling you to choose between her or the PlayStation, then the God of War Advanced Edition comes out in a few months, and you should probably go with that.
this one coming in from Adam Dole says, does putting people in prison cause social damage?
Who's that to?
I don't know. You can each have a crack at it if you'd like.
Oh, right. So here's the thing: the prison system sucks. It doesn't work because it's not run very well. Let's look for in Scotland, for instance. There's so many people crammed into prisons that last year they had to release 425 violent or sexual offenders early just to make space in prison. Prisons are not effective. In America, prisons are just a money-making place. They don't care about the people and rehabilitation. Prisons are supposed to be something to help society, to help rehabilitate someone so they can be a useful member of society. But unfortunately, the prison systems in both America and the UK are run by incompetent dickheads.
I generally agree, so I won't add to that.
You agree that the prisons in the U.S., you guys both agree that generally, or at least large swaths of the prison system in each of your countries are corrupt, basically?
I don't know if
I
the right
don't know
word,
about.
but
Yeah, I
definitely
don't think corrupt's the right word.
in America, they're privately owned things, right? They're there to make money. Which
They're like,
changes what the purpose for it is. Whereas in the UK, it is run by the government, but they're just ridiculously inefficient and overcrowded. And I don't think either way works.
I would especially agree with the point about inefficiency, and I would extend that to the legal system itself.
you got it. This one from Adam. Justin Henley says, Craig, define a Christian. Let's have a poll to see if the audience agrees with you. If they do not, you are a cow's udder because I said so.
Christian is someone that follows Jesus.
Muslims follow Jesus.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. They consider him to be a greater prophet than even Muhammad.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
The Muslims would disagree.
There are some Muslims who disagree, but all of them consider him to be a highly esteemed prophet. They follow Jesus. So Muslims are Christians based on your definition.
They don't follow Jesus, though. They follow Muhammad. They don't follow.
They claim to follow Jesus. They claim to follow Jesus.
Muslims follow the teachings of Muhammad, not the
They
teachings
claim
of
to follow Jesus. If you ask a Muslim if they follow Jesus,
Muslims do not claim to follow Jesus.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
No,
We'll
they do
go to
not.
the, we have to go to the next
Muslims
one.
do not follow the word of Jesus. They follow the word of Muhammad.
This one coming in from Megan Marie says, God unjustly killed people in the story of Noah's Ark and orders his followers to unjustly kill through genocide. God does murder Luigi.
Okay, I mean, I've addressed this multiple times. I addressed the second part earlier with the hyperbole and the fact that, again, the Amalekites show up later in Old Testament passages. And I again would ask, by what standard are you giving God this? Your distaste in your mouth that God did something wrong is not a standard of morality. I need something more than just you don't like it.
This from Adam Dole says, all Craig knows how to do is filibuster. Craig, I have a feeling you disagree.
Yeah, I don't know if any of these people know what filibuster means. Succinctly explaining your point and rebutting the opponent's point is not filibustering. It is doing what you're supposed to do in a debate. I understand that your short attention span has been created by you constantly watching TikToks of Subway Surfer, but that is not my problem.
Wow. I don't know what Subway Surfer is. That
What?
must be a young people thing.
No,
But
it's not. That was like a 10 years ago thing. Subway
wow.
Surfer.
Artful Dot Jr. says Isaiah 45:7 states, quote, I form the light and create darkness. I make well-being and create calamity. I am the Lord who does all these things. They don't say the translation, like they don't say if it's like ESV or NIV or
But
etc.
that was my point earlier. That was my point earlier that it's correctly translated as calamity.
Gotcha. This one coming in from, do appreciate. Forgive me. I've lost my spot here. Let me just find that. Like a boomer over here. Isaiah. Thank you for your patience. ZV says when Craig passes and sees God, he's gonna start crying about how he was murdered, laughing my butt off.
That's not something to LMAO about.
Am I going to get murdered? I mean, I doubt it.
Richie says, Craig, you keep bringing up murdering babies being wrong, but secular humanism says it's okay to kill babies in the womb. Can you explain?
Yeah, that's a fetus, not a baby.
This one coming in from Artful Dot Jr. says, God supports abortion. The Bible has proof.
The
That's
Bible
just it.
supports abortion.
This, this one from.
I mean, again, like. Oh, okay. Sorry. Again, like whatever passage they're bringing up, that their interpretation is that the Bible supports abortion. We again we're not going to take some random person's interpretation. We're going to take the Orthodox Church's interpretation of that passage, and obviously the Orthodox Church's stance is against abortion. So
This one coming in from Justin Henley says, God made the law, then murdered legal murder. Justin, please, why do you do this to me? Jack Attack MMA, I'll figure out what that one meant soon. Jack Attack says UK #1 name is Muhammad, plus 25% first generation migrants by 2035. First, all right, let's break this down, because Craig, you might know about this because you're way closer than we are. We are all the way over here in the western part of the US. Is it true that UK, the #1 name is Muhammad? Not that that would show that secular
I
humanism
mean,
is
I know it's
false, but
the most popular name in the world. Let me check.
Muhammad is the most popular name in the world.
again, no offense to Jack Attack for asking this question. It obviously doesn't really show that secular humanism or Christianity is a better foundation for ethics. Well, maybe they're trying to argue. I'm going to read between the lines for them. Maybe
Apparently,
they're
David is the name in UK.
so they say, and then they say 25% of first generation migrants by 2035. There'd still be a minority though. So they say, so of course Craig brings up Hungary, which is massively anti-immigration. So they're saying, oh, okay, I think they're saying like, Craig, secular humanist immigration policies are like too open. And he's saying like, Craig, you're purposely picking secular humanist countries that just so happen to have like tight immigration policies so that you can avoid addressing the implied, I guess, idea that secular humanism.
No, I didn't. I mentioned France, Germany, the Scandinavian countries, Hungary, Iceland. I mentioned a bunch of different countries, and some have stronger immigration policies than other. That doesn't change the fact that they all have in place measures to potentially increase the birth rate, which will be looked at in a few years and see where we are.
They
So no,
also
I didn't.
call, sorry. They also called you a dingbat. All right, this next one, Paleo Lungaro.
I like that.
It's like a term of endearment. Like it's like a love language. Like,
I've been
geez.
called worse, James. That's for sure. Like when
Paulo
Austin Witt, be a chubby cripple.
Longaro. Did he really say that? Yikes. This
Oh
is
yeah,
from
yeah, he did. It's in my face just outside the VIP dinner area.
Paulo Longaro says, I'm a Christian, but Craig brings up a good point about God himself. Said he's going to wipe out S and G, not evil. Is it
SNG.
S as in, I was like, is it like, I'm a Christian, but Craig brings up a good point. God himself said he is going to wipe out. I could think like S would maybe be like sin, but the G I don't know. S and G, like a G as in Gerard, and that's where I'm like, I don't know what that was supposed to be. Writing, we'll come back to that one. Let me know in chat, Paulo, and I'll try to reread it. Writing Jake says, Luigi, you said God doesn't murder, but he killed 42 kids for making fun of a bald guy, and Uzzah for protecting a sacred item.
Yeah, so the story of Elisha, they were not kids, they were young men who were mocking the prophet of God and therefore mocking God. So that is, in that context, it was justified. But, and again, you have no standard.
Wait, hold on.
And no,
it was
you have
justified.
no.
Let me just clarify. You're saying it's justified to kill somebody because they mocked them.
If to God, yes, your creator has the authority.
Oh, what a petty asshole your God is.
You have no leg to stand on, Craig, to say it's unjustified. You're just asserting
that's mean. You know, I'm giving an amputation. I take offense to that.
Right. You can take all the offense you want. Like, you feeling uneasy about it does not mean it's wrong.
Over your head. Dude, it's not okay to kill somebody because they got mocked. That's not cool.
Okay.
What
I
you
mean, I'm
do
sorry
is
you
you
feel
go,
that way.
oh, well, you're an asshole. I just
Okay,
want to speak
Craig, your opinion.
I'm going to murder you.
Your opinion is that's wrong. My opinion is it's not. So what? How do we
Well,
break
then
this down?
that means that
How do
you
we break
like
this down?
murder as well as
How do we
murdering
break
babies.
this down? It's
Therefore,
not
you are
murder.
an
It's not
asshole.
unjustified. You have to
It is-
demonstrate that
it
it's
is
unjustified.
unjustified. Mocking
Hold on.
somebody is
You
not
have
a
to demonstrate
justifiable
that.
You do have
reason.
to.
Mocking somebody is not a
Gentlemen.
justifiable reason to kill them.
Okay, now we'll. I do want to. So the question is originally for Luigi, so I want to give you the last word on this, Luigi, because they originally. So basically, they brought up. They said, "Hey, it's murder because, for example, the 42 children killed for
Yeah,
mocking the bald
they're not
person."
children. Like, so I just want to emphasize the Hebrew word there is they're young men who are making a mockery of God, and so that's why they were killed.
Hey
This
guys, if you
one-
mock God, it's to murder them.
In that particular context, Craig, yes.
In no context, is it-
You have no justification for saying that's wrong. You have zero.
Yeah, I
other
do,
than that you
because
don't
murder
like it.
is wrong.
Other than that you don't like it.
Yeah, because it's wrong.
But based on what? Based on the fact that you don't like
Based
it.
on you unalive somebody and they stop existing.
That's just what happened. That's just what happened.
Yeah,
You have to
which is wrong. Removing somebody's
On
life
what?
is wrong.
Based on what, Craig? How is it
The
any
fact that they then stop
from your
existing, that
perspective,
means it is wrong.
from your
The fact that it
perspective,
causes pain and
from
suffering
your
to other
perspective,
people.
from your
The fact
perspective,
that you think that you
Hold
have
on,
to
gentlemen.
justify
All right, hold
why
on.
murder is
We
wrong
do.
shows your crap.
I do have to. Like I said, I did want to give. So the original question was meant to challenge Luigi, and so given that the questioner is challenging him, and then Craig, I know that you want to challenge him too, but I don't want it to be like as if it's like ganging up. So I do want to give Luigi the last word.
Right, sorry.
I've already stated my response. I don't under his framework. It's no different. He has no justification to say it's wrong any more than a tiger eating its prey.
This is hold on. We're gonna go back to a question that came in because he's right. I am kind of I like your sassiness, Justin. So Justin earlier said he had the question where oh gosh, where'd it go? Remember when I was talking about S and G?
Oh
S
yeah, he was
and
asking about like
G. Okay.
potentially innocent life that was. I'm guessing that's what he's asking about.
Okay. I loved his most recent. Oh, it wasn't even him. It was actually, but he answered on behalf of Paulo. Thank you, Justin Henley. He said, Sodom and Gomorrah, you illiterates. That's good. Because Paulo's question was, I'm a Christian, but Craig brings up a good point. God himself said he was going to wipe out S and G, Sodom and
Sodom and
Gomorrah,
Gomorrah.
not evil.
Yeah, so Sodom and Gomorrah specifically, we know for a fact there was not a single righteous person in Sodom and Gomorrah. So the entire city was full of unlimited degeneracy and all kinds of disgusting practices. So again, this is another example of God wiping out evil, and people are complaining about it when they complain when God doesn't wipe out evil.
Or someone told somebody that there was stuff going on in that wasn't true, and they wiped it out because God said so. Cool.
This one from, let's see, Manga Fan Dan says, Craig, do you think Akuma or M. Bison would win in a slapping contest? These are your friends?
I would probably say Akuma because, I mean, look at the guns on the guy. He trained Ken and Ryo, frankly, and Dan, to be fair, although we don't talk about Dan. But Akuma's got those guns. Bison, he's just got his like military and his powers. So I reckon Akuma would win, to be fair.
These are some of your friends in Scotland, Craig?
No, I just I played a lot of Street Fighter.
Oh, okay. Adam Dole says in the BPF debate. Oh, okay. So the Big Papa fascist, as Andrew Wilson used to be called. Which, by the way, I'm not defending Andrew because I'm kind of apathetic towards Andrew. I'm like, yeah, okay, we get along well enough. But when he says he's like Big Papa fascist, I think some people don't realize that he's trolling. I do want to clarify that because sometimes they people be like, James, are you platforming a self-proclaimed fascist? And it's like, well, he's trolling by calling himself that. Anyway, they say in that debate, Craig said that secularists don't do things that cause harm. He has now changed standards again on another topic. Okay, what did he change
No,
standards on?
my point has always been that secularists do whatever is there to make the least harm. I want to be clear, in my debate against Andrew, I was very, very nervous and slipped up many of my words and stuff. And I was, I was in a very hostile environment. 90% of the audience were his, and some words slipped. But what I always mean is that, it's about reducing harm. We can't do no harm all of the time. It's about harm reduction.
I just want to say I do think you this has been your best out of the 3 debates for sure.
Oh, thank you. And sorry for going a bit FTFy on you, but I'm tired.
It's debate. That's what happens.
It's fun. It's lively. I know sometimes I seem cranky, but I like a passionate debate like this way more than a boring debate. It's honestly so demoralizing to host a
I do want
boring
to say about
debate.
Andrew, James, that a lot of people dunk on him, and he's got a character which can seem, quite, not for a lot of people. But I spent a lot of time with Andrew at DebateCon, and he was nothing but an absolute gentleman to me. And not just him, but his wife and the entire Crucible crew were incredibly nice to me, and it made the weekend even better for me.
Yeah, I like Rachel. I'm fine with Andrew. But pseudonym says, Luigi, if God told you to harm someone, would you do it? If
No,
no,
so
are you a secularist against the Bible version, parentheses, Moabites? If yes, are you being a good, fruitful Christian?
No, so this is a common like gotcha question from atheists. But what's interesting about the Orthodox perspective is since we believe that divine public revelation has ceased, we do not trust like anything that comes to us and says it's God. So because it can always be some sort of demonic force. So we're told in the Orthodox Church it always needs to be interpreted through like anytime we have a dream or any sort of vision, it always must be interpreted through the Orthodox Church. And if it's someone that's telling me to do something like that, then it's almost certainly, probably a demon, especially in this context.
Dreams are just your brain defragging, right?
I mean, the nature of dreams, I'm not sure why that's relevant.
Dreams. What was the last dream you had, Craig?
The last dream I had was actually a packing dream because I'm moving home. And here's the thing, I hate these packing dreams because no matter how much you pack, you're never finished and no one else is ever helping and you're always late for what you need to be doing. I hate packing dreams.
Wow, I've never even had a packing dream in my whole life. It sounds like you've had more than one.
Yeah, whenever I get stressed, I have packing dreams. It's like an anxiety thing, I think.
Wow, you know what my anxiety dream is? I'm like going to play a football game because I used to play football in college, and I am like I show up first, I'm late, and then I forgot my helmet
Always late,
or
right?
something. And
Oh
by that
God,
I
yeah,
mean
no.
American football. If you're confused, if
Y'all
people
know
are
it's
confused
creepy.
by that.
Y'all know it's creepy though. Like we're on our phones for hours a day. I've never had my phone show up in a dream. Never once.
No, you're
Oh,
right. You're right. I've had other people have their phones in a dream,
Oh,
and
they
then I
have.
was like, dream, and I woke up. But yeah.
oh, that is weird though that we don't have. I've never had a dream where I was like in my. Wow. This is weird. This one from Iron Horse. Craig's buddy is in the live chat. He's talking about his
Oh, he's
inappropriate
not drinking
dreams.
enough to type, is he?
He's talking about his adult dreams. This one from Buff Hardback says he doesn't even know what evolution is. Evolution isn't only passing down things that are good traits. It's just altering traits randomly. It isn't conscious. It doesn't know, quote, what's good or bad, unquote. I
Yeah.
think that's for
So
you, Luigi.
oh yeah, okay.
No, that's definitely for. I mean, that's exactly what my point was initially when I read the C.S. Lewis quote, where he's talking about how if it's an accidental process, why are we trusting it for value statements? That was exactly my point. I think the question is for Craig, but I could be wrong.
Maybe you're right. Sorry about that. Craig, go ahead.
Yeah. Like I said, evolution isn't just about passing down genes and having more babies. Evolution is random mutations that then whichever is the mutation that adapts adapts to the environment the best is the one that increases. So when Luigi was saying that evolution, it's an evolution imperative to have babies and stuff, that's kind of not what evolution is. That was the point.
You got it. This one coming in from Hallie says Craig's epistemic justification. So if you want to explain what that, epistemic justification would be like, how do you know what is the truth, folks, is what they're saying. They say Craig's epistemic justification for what harm is about as non-existent as his wiener. They say we W Luigi total
I mean,
Orthodox
if they want to
victory.
check out my OnlyFans, they can
Oh my
definitely get
God.
humongous wiener.
Wow.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Little only Craig. All right.
Yeah,
You can
that's the name of
find
my OnlyFans page. Lord have mercy.
this one from Jack Attack MMA. Right, by the way, I actually changed that super chat, but it was still approximately the same. Jack Attack MMA says, Craig, you advocate for saving unborn children from the adoption system by literally ending them. So why not suggest the same for the prison system?
No, okay. I didn't say you should abort instead of let them go into the adoption system. That wasn't the thing that I was saying. I'm saying that one of the results of people not being allowed to abort children that might not be in a situation to have a baby, the result of that is then the child can end up in in the adoption system. And because the majority of the children that go into adoption come from Christian families, then it shows that just having a bunch of babies isn't necessarily just the best thing. What is important is education around sex and sex protection, and contraception. We shouldn't be in a place where we have to have abortions. And I don't think that anyone should just be able to get an abortion because they've had a baby they don't want. But I do think that abortion is
Why
something
not?
that is necessary.
Why not though? If you said earlier that a child doesn't have bodily autonomy, so why not? If it makes you
Well,
happy, why not?
I just don't think that if you have a baby, you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't had that, then that's a reason for abortion. But that's just a personal opinion.
Isn't that your happiness?
It's not my body. It's a woman's body, and she should be the one to decide what she does with her body. My opinion as to whether I agree with their reason for getting an abortion is irrelevant.
But your standard earlier was happiness, and that it would make that person happy to eliminate that child. So
Now, happiness is one thing. You pick up on one word. I said many other things than just happiness.
This one coming in from
okay, I would like to know how that child is going to. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
this one from Joom says Luigi. Eve didn't know right and wrong until the apple came into play, or the fruit. They say animals never got the opportunity to know right and wrong. Therefore, animals are irrelevant to use.
No, they're not irrelevant to use if what I'm doing is I'm trying to narrow down his standard. Of course, I have a standard for why animals don't have morality like humans do. But what I'm doing is I'm pressing him on his standard because humans are just animals to him. They're just highly developed animals in his paradigm. So
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, well then it's no different than killing a human being in your paradigm is no different than a tiger killing its prey. And there's lots of animals that kill.
They don't have consciousness like us. They don't have the ability to choose like us.
That's
we
not
are
relevant.
now in a position, thanks to evolution, that we can now choose to do or not.
That's not because what's in question is the value of the life being taken. And if an animal or if a human is just an animal, then the value of the animal's life being taken is the same as the value of the human being taken.
No.
Yes.
Because again, humans have the ability to choose and are conscious.
That's not relevant to the value of the animal and the value of the human.
Yes, it is. That's what kind of makes it
is not relevant.
Intelligence is what makes whether you should kill a creature or not. We shouldn't eat dolphins and octopus because they're really smart.
So wait a minute. So if you have a really dumb human being, we can kill them because they're dumber than. What if you have a human that has a lower IQ than a dolphin? We can kill them.
They don't exist. I didn't say you should kill dolphins either. You're just making up.
But if you have a human that has a super low IQ, you can kill them because value is based on intelligence, according to you.
No, they're still way more intelligent than any animal or Christian.
But you just said the intelligence was your standard for value. So if you have a really dumb person,
I said intelligence is my value on whether I would eat something or not.
But the question was,
listening not one of your like skills?
What was in question was the value of an animal versus the value of a human, since they are.
Yeah, and that then led to another topic of conversation, which I said I wouldn't eat something if it was intelligent.
So you still haven't answered. You still haven't answered the objection then of how do we figure out that humans are more valuable than animals?
Because we can choose.
That's not an answer. That's not relevant to the value of a human.
If you don't like the answer, that's your problem.
It's not relevant to value.
We must move forward. This one from ZB says, Craig, bruh, what is you talking about? This is all in caps. How you don't know Muslims believe Jesus is the Messiah? OMG.
Well, Muslims don't think Jesus is the. Oh, he's obviously being sarcastic. Yeah, Muslims don't think Jesus is the Messiah or the Son of God. Or
yes, they do. They do think he's the Messiah. It's in the Quran.
Muslims do not think Jesus was the Son of God.
No, but they believe he's the Messiah. They believe he's the Messiah. That's in the Quran.
They do not believe he is the Son of God. They do not believe he was the magical savior of everybody.
What they're referencing is your definition of Christian was someone who follows Jesus. Muslims
do not follow Jesus. They follow Muhammad.
They claim to.
They follow Muhammad. They don't follow
Chapter
Jesus.
3.
Jesus is a prophet, not the one, not the word of God.
Chapter 3, verse 45 of the Quran. Remember when the angels proclaimed, "O Mary, Allah gives you good news of a word from him. His name will be the Messiah, Jesus."
Yeah, they don't follow him though.
Yes, they do.
Follow Muhammad.
They claim to follow Jesus.
They follow Muhammad.
This one from Cool V1C. Can we get a real applause for Craig?
Woo! Come on, James, clap.
My hands are occupied. This one from Aisha. But I will say this, folks, our guests, we have more questions, so stick around. Don't leave our guests are in the description box. Their links lie waiting for you. We really do appreciate our guests. In fact, I mean, that's like an understatement. They're the lifeblood of the channel, so we are eternally grateful for them. I do have to say, Craig has been such a good sport lately with these Craig usually debates flat earth. That's not to say that he hasn't done any reading on religion topics, but it's obviously relative to his like massive specialization in flat earth versus globe earth. It is nonetheless like a new topic area despite having done some reading. So I do want to say we appreciate Craig always being a good sport that way. And we also appreciate Luigi. It's the first time. And I know that Luigi, I could tell while setting up this debate, was the kind of guy that really likes to prepare for debates, which I actually like from debaters because it means like it's going to be a higher quality debate. So I do want to say we appreciate Luigi coming on, especially with my like informal way of setting up debates of just like, hey, yeah, like, here, this time, this day. So we do appreciate both of our guests. Check out their links in the description. And Steve from Wimhaven says, you lost me with the justified children's sacrifice. The justification of it being wrong is the feeling God put in our hearts telling us it's wrong.
Is that for me? Can you read it one more time? The wording was weird. Can you read it one more time?
They say, you lost me with the justified children's sacrifice idea. They say the justification of it being wrong is the feeling God put in our hearts telling us that it's wrong.
I don't justify child sacrifice. But what I'm saying is that I don't see how anybody who subscribes to something other than God, who is the definition of good, has a leg to stand on to say it's bad. That's my point.
God is not the definition of good.
Yes, he is.
Can you point to the dictionary where God is included?
It's the grounding for goodness, which we've shown throughout this evening.
God kills children. Can't be good.
And I'm saying, even if that were true, you have no leg to stand on to say it's wrong. No.
Oh, I do. I'm sorry. I can absolutely say that killing children is wrong.
By what standard? And that's if I grant that that's even what happened, which I don't.
But the Bible, God killed everybody. That includes the children.
Doesn't say that in the text. So you're asserting that.
So there was no children on earth when he made the flood, was there?
Well, I've already given the example of the hyperbole with the Amalekites, we've been through this with the Great Flood. I don't know how many more times I
Did
can say
God
this.
kill everybody with the flood? Yes or no?
That's not a yes or no question because there are different views on that
Yes.
question. There are different views. There are
Only one of those. Only one of those
there are
views can be
plenty,
right.
there are
Which one is
plenty
it?
of people. Yes, there are plenty of people who believe in a local flood. There are plenty of people who believe in that.
Local flood? What does that mean?
Yes, meaning it didn't cover like every single space in the earth. It didn't wipe out every single person.
And did that
But what
flood?
we do know is it wiped out an evil society. That's what we know.
And was there children in that society?
Doesn't say that in the text.
So that
Jack
society
attack.
contained
But
no children.
it's not relevant. It's not relevant to your
Certainly
standard
is.
of morality.
Well,
This
it
one
is.
from
Killing kids is wrong.
By
Jack.
in your opinion, it is.
This one from Jack Attack MMA says, they say, now they're quoting you, Craig. I mean, according to them, they say, Craig, babies could be harmed in adoption care, so we should harm them before they get there. Did I mention that God is evil? Do you get
Yeah, I didn't
their
say
argument?
that. Yeah, I get their argument, but it's a straw man of what I'm saying. I'm not saying we should abort all babies so they don't go into adoption. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that proper healthcare can stop these things happening, and abortion can be there for the reasons that it needs to be. But the fact that we just, that religion just stops protection and contraception and forces people to have babies when they're victims of rape and stuff like that, and or too young to have the baby can cause problems, and that's when abortion can be something that can be used, and to take that away is just wrong.
Aisha's goat says, to the live chat crew, I want to post a question. Someone give me a recommendation. All right. Paulo Longaro says, Craig's right. Muslims follow the teaching of Muhammad, but they recognize Jesus as a prophet. So I think that Paulo is trying to say that, like, the same way Christians might recognize that Moses was a prophet, but they would say that they follow Jesus rather than Moses, is
Yeah,
like
that's what I
what?
was saying.
Just because they recognize an additional prophet does not mean they don't claim to follow Jesus. That's like saying me saying I follow Jesus means I don't follow Abraham. That's like what that's saying.
This one from Justin Henley says, Sodom and Gomorrah. We got that one. Thanks, brother. Aisha's goat says, Craig, do you recognize denial when it happens to you?
Do I recognize denial when it happens to me? Yeah, I've seen many flat earthers in denial that the earth isn't flat until I beat the stupid out of them with facts.
Wow. Facts and logic beat down. Fool V1C says, can we get we got that one. I'm just having this is like the most fun Friday night for me is being here with these guys. I like these guys. Steve from Rimhaven says,
Wormhaven.
thank you. We got actually I just realized we got that question. I like jumped over a few. This one from Richie says, did we ask this one? Why is murdering someone in the womb okay, Craig? We had one like it.
It can't be classed as murder.
I feel like a lot of these questions are like repeat. Like that's like
Agreed.
we've like it's like the same thing like 5 times over.
We're almost at the end, I promise. Justin Henley says, Goken trained Ryu and Ken. I remember Ryu and Ken. They say,
Oh no, you're right. Sorry, I said Akuma trained. Right, it was Goku, wasn't it? No, yeah.
they say,
Akuma
okay.
was
And
trained by
then
the same, because
and then
Akuma can do as well.
Paulo Longaro says, Sodom and Gomorrah, you can also include the flood. God did that, not evil.
Yeah, they're basically saying God evil.
This is Richie. We got that one. This one from ZB. They say Craig makes low tier arguments about Christianity. He can't even understand how to approach topics under different Christian structures. I think they mean like
This whole different Christian structures. I don't vibe with it. You're Christian, and you don't get to claim that someone else isn't Christian because you have a particular definition of Christian. Anyone that follows Jesus and the Bible in the way that Christians do is a Christian. If you don't follow the Bible and the teachings of Jesus, then you're not a Christian.
Well, so Roman Catholics, Orthodox, and Protestants have a different canon of scripture. So which Bible are you talking about?
Well, there's lots of different versions of the Bible.
No, I'm not talking about versions. I'm talking about the books of the Bible.
Yeah, there's lots of different ones of those.
So,
Many
okay,
different versions
which
of
ones are
Christianity.
you referring to? Because you're saying they follow the Bible. Okay, which one?
Well,
Because
okay,
now,
the Bibles, because there's multiple of them,
listen,
which is part of the problem.
okay. So the Mormons added a bunch of verses in Genesis.
Yeah.
So you think Mormons are?
That's just as legit as the rest of your Bible.
How is that any different than the Muslims just adding an additional book, the Quran? How is that any different?
Because the Mormons still say they follow Jesus in the Bible, not the
Depends on
Quran.
the Mormon. Depends on the Mormon, to be honest.
This one coming in
All the
from
Mormons,
Burnham says you can use intuition alone to refrain from murdering someone to keep your freedom. For example, right and wrong aren't the only tool to make choices. I don't understand that. Burnham also says, Luigi, will abortion be okay in the future if people just say the phrasing of the killing was hyperbolic and it was God's plan?
Yeah, this is just making a mockery of hyperbole of ancient Near Eastern cultures. And again, we know for a fact it was hyperbole because the descendants of the Amalekites show up later in the scriptures.
But remember, guys, it's fine to murder people if they mock you.
Not murder. It's not murder.
This one from Justin Henley says animals cannot choose. Isn't choosing just a chemical reaction and thus subject to physics? Can chemical reactions choose to not obey physics?
Okay, so the difference between humans choosing and animals choosing is we have more than just our instincts to go on. We have our intuition, we have our experiences, we have our intelligence and empathy. Animals don't have that. Oh, maybe my dog does, the way he looks at me after he slaps me in the morning. But animals in general work on instinct. They don't choose in the same way that humans do. Yes, it is all, both in humans and animals, simply chemical and electrical reactions in the brain. However, our brain is much more developed and allows us to have such things as empathy.
This one from Dano says, for both of our speakers, if aborting babies with mental or physical disabilities would lead to more flourishing population in the future, what's wrong with that?
Well, my
Craig,
goal isn't.
They ask Craig. They say, Craig, can we hear from you first, and then Luigi.
Okay, sorry.
It's a difficult question. Should if you know that the baby's got an issue in the womb, would it be better for that baby and the parents if that baby was aborted? Possibly, but does that mean that baby couldn't have a decent life? For instance, my uncle, who had Down syndrome, when he was born, before he was born, my gran was told to abort him, but my gran chose not to. And he had an amazing life. And in fact, I would say that his life made humanity better because he made so many other people happy. So it's a hard question with more than one answer. And, I don't really want to.
Yeah, and I actually appreciate Craig's perspective on this. I think the same question was asked a similar question was asked at Andrew Wilson's debate with you. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously wrong. And also I would say that like a flourishing society is an ambiguous term, and I don't know in what way would murdering a child with Down syndrome bring a flourishing society anyway. But I think it's a travesty that some of these nations have eliminated Down syndrome because they detect it in the womb and then they abort every single one of those babies. And to Craig's point, I think Down syndrome, there's like studies on this. People with Down syndrome are like some of the happiest people in the world. They're like super happy.
Oh yeah, my uncle never had a frown on his face. He was the happiest, strongest person in the world. Oh my God, me and him would arm wrestle, and like he nearly snapped my shoulder off. It was crazy.
Have you seen? I don't know if you guys have seen the Shane Gillis like piece on this where he talked about his uncle who had Down syndrome, and he's like sneaking grilled cheeses into like restaurants and stuff. He's like just living life. So.
Yeah,
living the dream. We want to say thank you to our guests. They are tremendous. They have snuck themselves into our hearts. We love them very much. Tremendous guests. I want to say thank you, Craig and Luigi. Seriously, it's been a fun time, you guys. You guys make this fun. Folks, check out their links in the description box. That includes the podcast. So within 24 hours of every debate being live on Modern Day Debate, we put it on the podcast, which you can find on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Spotify. Bottom right of your screen right now, you can see Stitcher, you name it. We're on every podcast app there is.
How do your podcasts do, James? Just out of interest, they do quite well.
I think it's like an average of like 2,400 downloads per show. So it's
That's not bad.
thousands, but not many more thousands compared to the YouTube. And I frankly probably wouldn't recommend it if a person were considering going onto a podcast format now. I think
Well,
I
you
could be
telling me to put
wrong.
the shows on the podcast, and I was just wondering if it's worth. How do you do it? Do you just take the audio and just upload it?
Yeah, I used a website called Red Circle, which we do. I love them. Uh, but it's just, I think that podcast is going to lose to YouTube. I think that the podcast format is going to die away slowly, and I think it's shrinking. And I know that there are some boomers out there that still use it. Not even I use it, and I'm like the most boomer of all. It's just that, I used to download podcasts like Unbelievable and things like that. But now it's just, I use YouTube for everything because data is just so easy. It's so cheap to listen to YouTube
Yeah,
wherever you are. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd recommend it. It's just like, man, I think it's kind of going downhill. I think YouTube even has like now, like they try to, like they've purposely moved into that space where they have like you can make your YouTube videos like podcast content, which is
yeah,
basically, I think it just means it's available in the YouTube Music app. I think
yeah.
that's basically the difference. But anyway, I'm so
I
glad someone
still can't
asked.
believe you didn't know what Subway servers was, James. That's insane. You got to download it and play it now.
What was the
I,
phrase?
I played it in Subway servers. I played it all like in high school. I used to play that game.
Really? Subway Surfers.
Yeah.
Let me look this up. This is Craig,
Jetpack
you
Joyride. Jetpack Joyride. That was also a super fun one. Like Zombieland. Those were
and
all banging back in high school.
it's like Subway, like the underground train, not the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, still cool. Okay,
It's
Subway
like
Surfers.
what's the one Temple Run?
Yeah,
It's kind of like that one. Yeah.
Huh. Really? This is a game that has been popular for a decade, you
The way
say?
that you're wearing these glasses is just like it's even more boomer. It's like, what is this game here?
I've never even heard of this game. People in chat, have you heard of this Subway Surfers? I'm just I've heard of Candy Crush. Is that people still play that?
Not really. I
Okay.
actually don't know what kids play these days. I'm
Wow.
completely
Roblox.
disconnected.
But check out our links of our guests in the description box. We really do appreciate them. We're gonna let our guys go. It's they've got a lot of stuff they've got on their plate, so I want to say thank you to them one last time. I'll be back in just a moment with a post-credit scene. Thank you, Craig, and
What
thank
do you got?
you,
Thank you.
Luigi.
Yeah. I'm that guy. Get out of here. We're dancing in the street. There's nothing left to eat. We're on a winning streak. Going out in style.
Amazing. Want to say thanks for being with us. You guys, that was a good time. A good, innocent debate. Our guests, they're just good kids collecting pop cans and soda bottles and turning them in at the end of the week for change. They're good eggs. We love our guests. They're tremendous guys. We want to say thank you to them. And we also want to say thank you to you. I see you there in the old live chat. We got a lot of folks hanging out tonight. Thanks for being with us. It's been a great debate. If you're in the live chat, and if I can see you in the live chat talking right now, then I know you're a subscriber, because I want to say I appreciate you being a subscriber. Cool V1C, thanks for being a subscriber. Walk with the Spirit, thank you for being a subscriber. Ezekiel Bates, thanks for being a subscriber. Joe, thank you. And Dark One and Vigo and Vesper and even Iron Horse, nasty guy. He says, never heard of it, but sounds awfully like chocolate starfish surfing. Nasty guy. He's going to jail, folks. I'm telling you, you're going to see it. It's coming soon probably in the next year. LARPing for Cash. Thanks for being here. Jadar, glad that you were with us. Anon Centaur, thanks for coming by. Angel Berber, thanks for being with us. Salmon Pat, am I saying that right? Thank you for coming by. And DBK, thanks for coming by. James is an Xer, not a boomer, right? I'm actually a millennial. Yeah, don't let the glasses and the gray hair fool you. I gotta tell you, I'm actually a millennial, just barely, but I am, technically speaking. Now, Subway Surfers, they told me it's not Subway the restaurant, but don't worry, it's still cool. Bright you are, Ken. Thanks for dropping by. By the way, nobody got that joke about Subway. Yeah, come on. For real, you guys. You've seen the tattoo say many times. That'll show you I'm a millennial. I'll take my shirt off, show you my cool Subway tattoo. It's a very millennial thing to do. Joe and Clontarf, thanks for coming by. TJ, thanks for being a member. Dylan Motes, thanks for being a subscriber. B, thanks for coming by. Glad that you're with us. Right you are, Ken. Thanks for coming by. And AAE, happy to have you here. Autumn's happy to have you with us. Thanks for being a subscriber. Peter John Demonzi, thanks for being a subscriber. Appreciate that. We got to tell you, let's see. Iron Horse says, yeah, got some Subway surfing to do, LOL. Nasty guy. They're gonna, Iron Horse, I says, hope you start getting ready for prison. They're gonna pass you around like a bag of Oreos there. DBK says James has a special relationship with Subway for life. That is right. Nobody likes Subway more than me. I love Subway. Tremendous restaurant. One on every corner. I gotta tell you, G Money. You know what I don't like? I'll be honest though about Subway. Even though I am loyal to the brand because of my circumstances, but at the same time, Subway's overpriced to the point where even I don't want to go there because I'm like, oh, do they really want to go? It's like, I want to kind of save it for special occasions because it's $15 for a foot-long sub. I feel like I've got a budget for that. $15 for a lunch sandwich? It might be a big sandwich, but geez, $15. I feel like now if I tell people like, well, when I was in high school, it was the, cool thing that there'd be $5 for these. It's like when I was a kid and I would have like old people tell me that when they were, a kid, like a soda was like 5 cents or something. And I was like, it couldn't be. That's not possible. Like as a kid, I was just like, that's just way too big of a difference. But yes, Iron Horse is especially guiding you to the subway, and wink face, nasty, nasty guy. YouTube is going to track him down and put him in YouTube jail. But we want to say thank you for being supporters. Now, Human Girl, bro, you haven't even responded to me in like years. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, okay? Believe me, Human Girl deserves it, and nobody feels sorry for him. But now, you guys might have noticed in chat, a lot of people will pretend, especially men, I think it's a fetish, will pretend to be a woman. And then they'll be like, ooh, flirting, hey, sailor, like, what are you doing tonight? And it's like, okay, I know you're a guy behind that female avatar. And same thing with like on Twitter, which I feel like quite the gangster when all these like bots that are trying to market, like, I don't know, like basically like we'll say adult content, they are liking my tweets, and I feel like I'm king on Twitter or X. I like dead naming it just to show blatant disrespect to the idea of transitioning. It's still Twitter to me. Is mm, all these bots, they love my tweets, and I feel like a king because of it. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Greg S, I see you there in the live chat. Ezekiel Bates, lots of pictures of pancakes there. And then Dave Hill, thanks for coming by. Says, I miss $5 footlongs. Amen, Dave. We're in the same boat on that one, brother. And Inan Centaur says, causes unhappiness. Let's see. Autumns, thanks for coming by. I see you there in the old live chat. And let's see. I keep having on my this stop listening. I can't. So this one I want to say though, I'm gonna let you guys go. This is seriously, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. We're excited about the future. As I mentioned, DebateCon 6 this fall will be in Nashville, Tennessee. Probably going to be in October. We'll let you know for sure as we plan to get the date and the venue pinned down in the next month. This debate conference, we're actually planning to get hammered out very early compared to usual, because we usually like launch ticket sales like 6 weeks beforehand, which is just way too late. So we're making a change where we're actually planning to launch them like 6 weeks, not 6 weeks, 6 months beforehand. Dano says, James, thanks for the debates. Craig is a good sport. Luigi is great too. And if anyone should know about Subway Surfer, it's you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. We appreciate it. Iron Horse says, James, speaking from experience again, nasty guy. So thank you guys. Last week he says, oh, your language, James. Last week Iron Horse said he'd take his pants off and moon everybody. Now he wants to talk to me about his language. Dano, let's see here. I just saw something. By the way, if you know where that phrase is from in the live chat, tell me if you know what that phrase that I just said is from. Namely about Iron Horse last week saying that he was going to take his pants off and moon everybody. I have to see if people know this. I've had that phrase going through my head like all day. But yeah, we do appreciate you. Thanks for your guys' support. If you haven't yet, do hit that like button for real. It actually does make a difference. It actually is like a personal like thing for me. So I'm seeing it's 205 right now. That's the amount of likes. If you do hit like, it seriously does. When I see it go up, I'm like, hey, thanks seriously for actually doing that, because we are excited about Modern Day Debate. We want to see it continue to grow. And we do, yeah, like YouTube, I know for sure. I can tell by the analytics, likes actually do make a difference. I used to kind of question it, but now I know if I see like the amount of likes on a video, I'm like, that's actually a good predictor of how well it'll perform in the long run. So we appreciate that, as the algorithm will push it out to more people. Does nobody really know that phrase that I gave? Nobody knows where that's from? Man, oh man. All right, I'm going. Thank you guys for your love and support. We'll see you at the next one. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Thanks, folks, and take care.